glad that you talk.
We keep telling you, it's the only way to start your morning, in case you doubt it. My name is Samuel Njoroge, and welcome to the show on this day where we had a dreaded article of the Constitution given life. I'm talking about Article 261 of the Constitution that saw the Chief Justice petition the President to dissolve Parliament. Why? They've been unable to enact legislation to facilitate the two-thirds gender rule when it comes to elective and appointed positions in the country. However, there is a gap. The same constitution does not give the president any time frame in as far as when he can exercise this particular petition, and it also does not say what would happen in case he does not. But also remember, it does not precipitate a general election, because Article 101 of the Constitution is also a reality. Should a seat of a sitting member of Parliament fall vacant, there are provisions therein that will guide you in as far as the law is concerned. But there is also a bigger nightmare, the political liability and IEBC. These are some of the intrigues that you're waking up to as a nation. Thank you for choosing KBC Channel 1 to kickstart your day this Tuesday. My name is Samuel Njoroge, and welcome to the show.
Well, what can I say? Oops, I did it again. That is not me speaking, neither is it Britney Spears. That is none other than the Chief Justice Maragade. But is the president honor bound to by the CJ's advisory? That's a question that we are all asking ourselves, including all the legal minds within the country and also outside are going to be waiting. And power does not like a vacuum, A ball is actually a vacuum. So yes, we did it again, but are we honor bound? We'll be watching what direction the executive is going to take in regard to this particular advisory. Good morning once again. I'm Regina Manyara. Glad to have you on board. We're going to be looking at stories including what is happening in the political scene, as well as the debates on the school reopening. There's a lot of confusion, and especially on social media, namely Twitter. One way, the education sector, that is the Cabinet Secretary, Education Professor George Magoha, says it's October, few minutes. Then he tells scribes that they can write whatever it is that they choose to write on what they have heard. But question is, are parents ready to send back their children back to school? The issue of public schools and the issue of social distancing, as well as now parents have to dig deeper into their pockets and pay for masks and sanitizers. Are we ready? Amatulikula school fees. That's a good question. That and so much more coming up in the headlines.
And speaking of matters education, one of the main stories here on the front page of the Daily Nation, Magoha tells parents, if you cannot raise school fees, then transfer your child. And this is specifically to parents who have children who are in the 130,000 private schools across the country who are saying we are not financially capable to take our kids back to schools. So what does Magoha tell them? Peleka mtoto private school. Good morning. Welcome once again to Good Morning Kenya. I am Jane Womboy. And Regina, there's one statement you have said right there that holds so much power. Power doesn't like a vacuum. Ooh, 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 ooh. Goosebumps. But those are just some of the topics and issues that we're going to be helping you understand today on Good Morning Kenya, as well as having a conversation about women who are at the forefront, bringing change and empowering other young girls here in society to just break that glass ceiling and go for it all. And today we're going to be having one Rose Emily Masharia. She is a lady who's in the mechanical engineering industry, has been in the Juakali sector, and now is on to farming. A lady who goes all out doesn't let anything limit her capabilities, because we always say you are your own biggest limitation. And that is why we're going to be having her today to tell us how her journey has been and where it all started to getting to where she is today. Welcome once again to the program. This is Good Morning Kenya, the only way to start your morning. Hey.
Sign language interpreter.
Is Jane Wamboi. Sorry, we didn't mention that when we were opening, right, Doreen?
Thank you.
Right. And you see, actually, it's beautiful because she doubles up. She can actually talk and then she can do the sign language. So
Exactly.
good enough.
Multilingual.
All right. So even as we continue looking out for you, this making headlines this Tuesday morning, as well as the conversations lined up for you. You know, what will be happening on our roads in terms of traffic. And this morning, we move away from Nairobi City, we go to Nakuru City. This is because that specific route, actually called the Nairobi-Nakuru Highway, is still under expansion. Inside the city, that is already complete. In some parts, they're still under reconstruction. So this morning, we try and look how has that impacted traffic, which other projects have Kenha and Kura lined up in that specific city, and just how are the residents coping, and how are the public and private vehicles trying to manage all of this. So that will be our focus this morning when it comes to matters traffic, our focus specifically in Nakuru City. And a few minutes to 7:10 this morning. How about we just take a look at that traffic? But before we go to Nakuru City, I just want us to begin from the Globe Cinema roundabout. This is actually the map of Nakuru, and we'll be doing this in the next traffic link-up segment. But before that, let's just begin with the Globe roundabout. This is because earlier on, when I was just looking at the maps, I really saw quite a heavy traffic gridlock around this roundabout. And just look at this. When I said I spotted heavy traffic gridlock, this is actually what I mean. Look at that, the maroon color at this hour. Now, remember, the maroon color is an indicator that traffic is heavy and it's not moving at all. Means is that it is just at a standstill. Nothing is happening. And this is one of those busy roundabouts, especially in the city of Nairobi, because it comes all the way from Thika Superhighway, Murang'a Road, through the roundabout, going all the way to some slip roads there as you head over to University Way, as well as just coming to the city center. And I also mentioned coming all the way from Murang'a Road. So clearly one of those busy roundabouts. Again, there's another slip road on the other side. That is Kipande Road, coming all the way from Wayaki Way, you know, through this roundabout as you head over to the city center. From the roundabout, again, heading over to the CBD as you head over to University Way, and also from Thika Superhighway through Murang'a Road, coming again through the roundabouts, heading to those slip roads that I just mentioned. There's also another one, the Kirinyaga Road, as you come again to the other side of city center through River Road. So it is one of those busy roundabouts. And look at how it is looking like at this hour. You can imagine, you know, gridlock throughout the entire roundabout, just on some specific, you know, parts or areas where it's moving at a pretty fast pace. And this is just on that stretch from the roundabout as you head over to Kipande Road on the other side of Wayaki Way, and also on that stretch as you head over to Moi Avenue in the as you come to the city center. On that just specific stretch, that's where it's a smooth sailing, no traffic at all. Throughout the entire roundabout on the other side, moving pretty slow, on some parts just at a standstill. Now, the reason why I wanted us to look at this roundabout this hour is because just wanted to inform our viewers coming from Thika Superhighway, coming from Westlands, that is through Wayaki Way, as well as just heading to the city center, that this is the best time for you to do that, because if it is looking like this at this hour, you can imagine from 8, 9, it will be something totally different. So as of now, this is how it's looking like in terms of traffic. But also the beauty is that it's just only specifically on the lane that is coming to the city center. Actually, through this roundabout, only on lanes that are coming to the CBD, that is where traffic is just being witnessed. On the other ones, you know, as you head over to Murang'a Road, to Thika, as you head over to Westlands, you know, all the other side of Wayaki Way, as as you head over to the other side of city center, on those specific lanes, you know, it's just moving pretty fast, no traffic at all. So where this traffic is just as you leave the estates coming to the city center. So this is how it's looking like in terms of traffic, just trying to focus on what is happening around Globe Cinema roundabout. But remember, as I mentioned, this morning our focus is specifically in Nakuru City. So I'll be telling you some developments, what they're doing, what's already completed, how it's impacting traffic, and some other new projects that are slated to, you know, to happen in that specific city. That will be in the next traffic link-up segment, which will be in Nakuru City. But as of now, this is how it's looking like around Globe Cinema roundabout.
In our next link-up segment, we'll be telling you exactly what Doreen has said in as far as the traffic is concerned. But right now, we need to delve into the headlines. And as far as the Star is concerned, it has chosen to take this headline. Probably it's a deviation from every other headline in the country. Probably the paper has to sell. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, how CIA came to lead anti-terrorism war and plot to kill Hillary Clinton was foiled by the CIA-backed Kenyan paramilitary team. That story is on pages 4 and 5 of the Star this morning, talking about a rapid response team at the heart of U.S. efforts to combat terror in Kenya. Remember that declaration was made way back in 1998 after we suffered that terror attack with the bombing of the U.S. Embassy right here in Nairobi, and the U.S. then, through the Secretary of State, that is Prudence Bushnell. No, that was the ambassador to Kenya then. That is Prudence Bushnell. They were able to say that they will stand with Kenya when it comes to fighting terror, not only right here in the country, but also globally. Now, that story finds its way to pages 4 and 5 of the Star this morning, but also the highlight of today's headlines. It's all about Maraga asking Kenyatta to dissolve parliament, and a quote from the CJ as he made this petition to the president is that is the clear result Kenyans desired for parliament's failure to enact legislation they deemed necessary. We must forget that more, or we must never forget that more often than not, there is no gain without pain. All right? And there you have it. That is the front page of the Star, and pictured there is Chief Justice David Maraga. However, operationalization of the law required some realities to be in place. Key among them, does the president have a time frame within which he can implement this? And should he choose not to, what will happen? Of course, there are those that argue that any legislation that will be passed after this by the current president will thus become illegitimate. But is that the position? And shall we see a group move to High Court to challenge this particular petition, because that provision too is provided for in law? Those are some of the intrigues and angles we shall be covering for you as we continue delving deeper into the headlines.
Now, still keeping up with what we have lined up for you in the headlines, and now focusing on the issue of the Standard this morning. That story about the CJ's advisory to the executive, that is the president, takes center stage. Actually, is the main story for today. And pictured there is Maraga does it again. It reminds me of Britney Spears. Oops, I did it again. Yeah. Now, this is not about a matter of love. It's about a matter of legislation. Now, this caused quite a stir, especially on social media yesterday, and it still continued to cause a stir, not just within social media, but also mainstream media and the country at large, with a lot of responses, mixed reactions from various legislators, including page 4 of the Standard here, where we have Justice Muturi, Justin Muturi there, explaining why this failure to pass the 2/3 gender rule does not only fairly lie within Parliament. Quoted there in this article, this is page 6 of the Standard. can just read an excerpt there. Now, already there have been a number, he says, the undertaking of the entire lawmaking process indicates that it is not solely upon Parliament to have a law enacted. Bills may originate from anywhere, including from the public through petitions for presentation in Parliament, subsequently processed through the House, and then finally presented to the President for assent. Now, remember that every time this the Parliament has failed for 4 consecutive times to actually pass this particular bill. And some of the views from various leaders indicate that the only thing that is that has not been implemented as far as the Constitution is concerned is that particular aspect on the gender rule. If I can quote Senate Deputy Speaker Margaret Kamar, who's weighed in on the issue and says, Maraga has done what we have been asking for a long time. He has rightly interpreted the law, and there was no way Parliament would have escaped blame. Despite numerous attempts, MPs could not see this risk. That is what Margaret Kamara, who is the Deputy Speaker, Senate, has to say in regard to that issue of the gender rule and the CJ's advisory. However, former leader of majority, who happens to be the Garissa Town MP Aden Dwale, is of a different opinion and says a dissolution would be a serious affront to the will of the people exercised by Parliament on their behalf, that, quoting Article 94(1), confers the legislative authority on Parliament. A dissolution would negate this legislative authority. On the other hand, COTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli says it is malicious of Maraga to do this. He should instead go to the President together with the Attorney General to find out the best solution to this. Parliament is not even dissolved during war. These are sentiments expressed by COTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli. Now, Elgeyo Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen says, Mr. President, now therefore dissolve Parliament immediately. Which way? Question is the President bound by the CJ's advisory? We don't know. Sam is going to be looking at matters politics in regard to this, because we cannot leave out politics and the impact that this would have on our political scene, especially when we're talking about the referendum in light of the BBI. We want to see then if this presents an opportunity to change this aspect of the Constitution. So many dynamics happening here, with also lawyers from different factions weighing in on this matter. We'll be keenly focusing on that in not too long.
All right, let's go to the Daily Nation. Now, the same story is the main read there on the front page of the Daily Nation. Maraga reaches for the hammer, and in brief, he was quoted saying, "Let us endure pain, but only if we must," to remind ourselves as a country that choices, and particularly choices on constitutional obligations, have consequences. Now, this is comes on the background where he was barring a court order stopping President Kenyatta from dissolving Parliament for failing to enact the law on the 2,000 gender rule. And as advised by the Chief Justice Maraga, Kenya is now staring at a mass by-election with monumental political and economic ramifications that will come with it. Looking at the main stories that is also taking center stage on the front page of the Daily Nation. At the bottom there, Uhuru likely to reopen the economy on a Monday in the coming week. We'll be giving you details about this following the statement that was put out yesterday in regards to the lifting of some of the restrictions that have been put in place. Of course, we will know the way forward after the 12th national address by the president come next week, Tuesday. But still on the front page of the Daily Nation, that particular story concerning the education sector here in Kenya. You can't raise school fees, then transfer your child. And I quickly just want to get to the details of that particular story here on the Daily Nation, where the CS is now telling parents to take their children to public schools, and this is specific to parents who have children in private schools. So the fact that the government has asked parents who are unable to pay school fees to transfer their children to public schools because it is free once they reopen schools come October. Now, it is said there are about 45,000 learners whose more than 131 private schools were forced out of business by the COVID-19 pandemic and will not be able to report to school. And this is also what was revealed by Mr. Ndoro, who said that yes, there are 131 private schools with the capacity of 44,000 learners and 1,300 teachers who had given a notice to the association indicating that they are shutting down completely and will not be able to reopen come October. But still on the same breath, we have the CS who was saying the government has made education free in this country for both primary and secondary education for children, and anyone saying that they do not have school fees, they should remember that. Now, he further on went on to say that and this was also based on the fact that he was angered with the fact that some of what was being discussed in that closed meeting by the task force to put forth a report, some of the contents of that meeting were leaked. But he went on to say that over 75% of secondary schools are day schools here in Kenya, and whose tuition fee is paid for in full by the government, and only those who are boarding are the ones who are going to be who are going to have a conversation with the principals of the respective schools to address each case as it comes. If you take your child to a private school, it means you have money to pay, all right? The private schools understand the challenges faced by parents and will also handle each case as and when it does come. So that is in brief of what he had to say in regards to that particular story, although there was also, according to the Daily Nation, the fact that some of the contents of contents of that particular task force meeting that leaked is that there are those who are suggesting that schools should reopen a week earlier from the October 19th date that was put forth in the public. However, all that is subject to confirmation as we get further direction when it comes to the reopening of schools.
Now, let's move on to the Star. I'm really taken in by page 7 of this particular copy. It's talking about an impeachment motion against Migori County Governor, that is Okoth Obado. And now ODM is saying that the motion is ready. But of interest is that this is not coming from MCAs in Migori. It's not coming from the Speaker of the County Assembly of Migori. It's coming from none other than John Bandi. Okay? Therefore, posing the question, what exactly, politically speaking, aren't we seeing when it comes to the tussle between Okoth Obado and the Orange Democratic Movement? Remember, he has been a thorn in the flesh of this particular party. Could they be using this as a means to get him off the way? And what political consequences will come with this? And as far as this is concerned, he is a man who is said to attract the interest, politically so, of the deputy president. So it will be interesting to see how this particular motion pans out to be, because the Daily Now reports that ODM is ready to battle Migori County Governor. And as far as that is concerned, it's a balanced story, though. It talks about Section 33 of the County Governments Act, which of course gives the procedure through which you can impeach the governor, and they're relying on this piece of legislation to back their claim and right to have Okoth Obado impeached. How will this issue pan out to be? We will be right here to cover it for you. But also let me show you or draw your attention to that story you see there on the still on page 7 of the Star. Tuju wants JSC, that is the Judicial Service Commission, to remove Kasango as High Court judge over the death case that he's been facing, and he now accuses the judge of failing to act on an urgent application he had filed regarding receivership and insolvency proceedings. That story is on page 7 of the Star for you this Tuesday.
Now, talking about judiciary and legislation, is that a drug dealer was ordered to forfeit 28 million in worth of assets. Now, Lady Justice Mombingoge ordered Rose Monanyi Musanda, yes, and her two proxies, Thomas as Odhiambo and Margaret Wambui, to forfeit 5 Isuzu passenger buses valued at 25 million and 3.5 million shillings in cash in her accounts for being illegal wealth acquired through drug trafficking. Now, quoted there while giving her judgment is Lady Justice Mombi saying, the court is satisfied that her assets are proceeds from the drugs dealing, which she used to open a matatu business to disguise the sources of her funds. Having obtained the assets from proceeds of crime, they are liable for forfeiture to the state. That is according to Lady Justice Mombi Ngoge. Now, her decision was a boost in the fight against drug trafficking and warning to drug cartels that their wealth is at risk of being surrendered to the state as proceeds of crime, setting a precedent there. Lady Justice Mombi Ngoge there. Now, Lady Justice further agreed with submissions, ruling that the assets and cash in her account do not have a lawful basis, since she did not demonstrate her legitimate source of income. She further added that Musanda's explanation that she bought the buses using bank loans could not be verified, since she failed to produce in court any loan agreement or details of loan repayment. This is a warning shot made in practice, or rather to drug cartels, that ill-gotten wealth might just be surrendered to the state. Landmark ruling there by Lady Justice Mombi Ngoge.
Well, there you have it. And you remember when we had the transfer of the Kenya Meat Commission to the defense docket, and the banter online, in as far as that is concerned, you know, every national holiday we have pass-out parades, and wanao pita mbele yako sasa hivi mtukufu rais ni... I can't say that because it may land me in trouble. But you know what? That story has found its way to page 11 of the Star. I will be telling you all about it. Senate has an issue with the transfer of the Kenya Meat Commission to the Defense Ministry. We will be telling you why, and also we'll be getting to understand what has been the reaction in as far as the CJ's petition to the President is concerned, to invoke Article 261 of the Constitution and send Parliament packing for failing to enact legislation that is going to breathe life into the two-thirds agenda rule when it comes to both appointive and elective positions, which way forward, what areas of lacuna exist, and what will be the position moving forward in as far as the political intrigues that this particular petition is going to bring forth. All that and much more will be coming your way in the course of this only way to start your day. That is Good Morning Kenya. We are taking a break. We'll be back with more in a moment.
This Tuesday on KBC Channel 1.
Maliza hiyo sentensi.
Hakuna.
Julia is very privileged that you could take some time off your busy schedule.
And it still amazes me how clear yours is, even to join a tea party for women.
More cake? Anyone?
Now you understand why I can't believe that it's true?
This isn't possible.
Can't you understand, Juana? He ran off with that stupid girl.
Yes, that's right. That woman lived across the hall from me. She had come from Tijuana looking for a Ramon, and I never thought she was actually looking for your son.
In love with Ramon. on.
Every day we are go fight. I think it's best that you forget me. I see me, I feel love from a distance. What come my way? Anything that you want, oh my love, I'm gonna give you one with just two sweet reggae. I must see close, Valentine. I wear them fine time for him.
And about 33 minutes past 7, as Sam likes to put it, time for our next traffic link. And as I had mentioned earlier in the intro, that we'll be focusing on in Nakuru City when it comes to matters traffic. So just before we go to the traffic flow, how about we start with how that process began. So this is actually an image of Salga area. This is actually around Nakuru area. So this process or this road reconstruction began in 2019. They mentioned that it will take about 3 years, so that ultimately means that it is still continuing. It's not yet complete, but at least in the heart of the city, that is already done with, and I will be showing you those images a bit later. So part of the reason as to why they are expanding this road is just because of different kind of reasons. First of all, to reduce on the traffic flow, and they're just expanding it to dual carriageway. In fact, a major highway, because it actually has 4 lanes on both sides. And again, the other reason aside from traffic flow is because this is a very instrumental road or highway now because of transportation purposes when it comes to cargo transportation, goods transportation from Nairobi to Nakuru itself, to Naivasha, to areas even outside on the outskirts of Nairobi County, those counties there, such as the western part of the country, as well as the Nyanza part of the country, and not forgetting even outside Kenya when it comes to transporting goods, that is again cargo from Kenya to Uganda through the Malaba border. So this is why this road was being expanded, because oftentimes, especially for someone who goes to either western or Nyanza part of the country, you'll bear witness that the kind of trucks along this route, quite a number of them, and this again is in a bid just to ensure that they transport this goods. So this is why this road was being expanded. And this area where you're seeing, this is actually the Salga area, where oftentimes you'll just a good number of times you'll see the kind of accidents that happen that would happen on this corridor. Actually, it's called the Nairobi Nakuru corridor on this particular stretch. So again, that is also why they were expanding this route. So this is how it actually was when the process began. Then at least came to this spot, a bit of recarpeting again in some parts of this area, and also what they've ensured at least on this on some parts of this stretch is also NMT being put in place, which again just goes back to the whole idea that any new road that is being reconstructed, any road that has been earmarked for recarpeting, NMT has to be put in place. And also part of what came with this reconstruction is the public-private partnership. That is actually what comes with this reconstruction, which just means it's not just the taxpayers' money which contributed to this reconstruction, but also private firms contributed to the designing of this road, reconstruction of this road, as well as the maintenance that will come after reconstruction. So remember, I told you earlier that at least in the heart of the city, it's already done and complete. This is actually the heart of Nakuru City, and you can clearly see just from those images there that the reconstruction in the heart of the city is already done. So in the areas where is still ongoing is especially around Mai Mahiu area, just as you leave Nairobi going all the way to Nakuru, Naivasha. So in that particular area, that is just where is still ongoing. But I told you it's actually a project that will take 3 years. So began in 2019, so probably late 2021, early 2022, that will be complete. But this is actually in the heart of the city. And you can just see from these images again, NMT is still in place. You know, the expansion is still happening. And again, one of the things that came with it is reduction of traffic flow. At least that's what they mentioned there. But let's see, let's attest to it if actually that, you know, happened in terms of traffic reduction. So this is now that map, which just shows us how the traffic is looking like. This is actually in Nakuru City as you leave Nairobi, leaving a Kikuyu all the way coming to Maimahiu, heading all the way to Nakuru. Now let's just look at this specific area before we continue exploring further. This is, as I mentioned again, after you leave Nakuru, coming through Kikuyu Road, going all the way to the other side of Maimahiu, and you can clearly see on this specific stretch, it is just green all through. That means on that lane that is leaving Kikuyu, Kangemi, as you head over to Nakuru, leaving Nairobi, you know, moving really, really fast on both lanes, which ultimately means that the whole idea that they had of traffic reduction flow on this specific route when they were expanding it, making it a 187 kilometer road, it is actually serving its purpose, because look at how it's looking like in terms of traffic. Green all through, barely any traffic build up there, so just moving at a pretty fast pace. So how about we look at another, you know, area which I had mentioned earlier, that is where they are still reconstructing, which it's not yet complete, and that is around Maimahiu area. And again, also, as I had mentioned earlier, if you're someone who goes, or you know, head to the western part or even the Nyanza part, that specific stretch is normally very confusing because it has taken quite a while, and we can clearly see just from our map, even the traffic around that area. This is actually the Maimahiu, you know, as you head over to Narok Road, as well as the Maimahiu as you head over to Nakuru. So on this is now what they are doing also on this area, trying to expand it again. So you can clearly see from this area where you're seeing this part, this is actually the Maimahiu, Nakuru, and then the Maimahiu, Narok. And on that stretch that is Maimahiu, Nakuru, look at how it's looking like. Gridlock all through. But again, in as much as there's traffic there, at least a manageable kind of traffic, and that's why we have the orange color there. So this is an ongoing works being spearheaded by Kenha as well as Kura, just trying to see how best they can expand most of this instrumental as well as busy roads. And remember I told you, it is not just a project or a process that is happening in Nairobi City, it is extending to different parts of the country, and all this in a bid to make it easy for pedestrians, to make it easy for both public and private car owners as well. So this is how it's looking like this morning when it comes to matters traffic in Nakuru City.
All right, welcome back. This is Good Morning Kenya. We now want to continue with this particular segment in the headlines, just having a quick look at what the different dailies have for us this morning. And now we move on to the Daily Nation, and this is matters concerning the health ministry here in Kenya, where KNH a 5,000 strong workforce to down their tools yet again on payroll. Now, getting to the details of this particular story is that close to 5,000 workers who are employees at the Kenyatta National Hospital will go on strike in the next 7 days if their push for their new pay and allowances is not implemented. Now, looking at the Kenya Union of Domestic Hotels, Educational Institutions and Hospital Workers, the Kenya National Union of Nurses, and the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and the Dentists Union, they all came together and issued a strike yesterday, a 7-day strike notice, and they demanded the implementation of resolutions by the State Corporation Advisory Committee that was reached on in 2012 to upgrade KNH's parastatal status from 3C to 7A. Now, looking at the salary structure that was agreed on back in 2012-2013, is that following the reclassification of KNH's Kenyatta National Hospital, that is, parastatal status from 3C to 7A. Now, this meant that all KNH staff were to get a pay increment, and this ranged from the CEO getting a salary of about 400,000 and the cap being put at 560 for the CEO, with allowances, with house allowances between 60 to 80,000, and the lowest workers' basic pay at the Kenyatta National Hospital would also be getting 17,535. Now, this particular salary structure has not been put in place despite the fact that it was agreed on back in 2012, and some staff now are saying that they're going to go on strike if the return to work formula is not implemented by the management. However, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission argued that the higher pay was fiscally unsustainable and would distort the salary structure of the sector. Now, it wants Kenyatta National Hospital to retain the current remuneration structure as it awaits a job evaluation for the remuneration review cycle for 2021-2022. Now, speaking to this was the acting KMPDU Secretary General, that is Chibanzi Mwachoda, who said that in view of the above, we demanded that the hospital implement a salary review for all employees as approved by a State Corporation Advisory Committee through a letter that was dated September 13th, 2020. He further on went to say that they are now giving a 7-day ultimatum for the hospital to meet their demand or face a national strike from the 28th of September. That is just in brief what this particular story has to say about that. The fact that, you know, the Kenyatta National Hospital has issued employees, over 5,000 workforce have issued a strike notice starting next week on a Monday, that is the 28th, if this agreement that was reached on back in 2013 is not implemented when it comes to the salary structure of medics and all employees for that matter at that particular hospital.
So I'm holding on to the Star, and this is page 11. Remember, before we took the break, I did tell you when we return, we'll be looking into this particular concern raised by the Senate. Now, they have an issue with the executive orders that the president has been giving, arguing that he's using them to militarize operations with public institutions. Cited herein is the transfer of the Kenya Meat Commission to the Ministry of Defense, and they're posing a question through nominated senator, that is Alice Milgo. How will farmers deliver livestock to a protected area? Because quite literally any army base, any defense forces camp is a protected area, and that is the concern raised therein. You will also find the fact that they want to understand better whether this is a genuine move from government or it is a way through which, you know, tenderpreneuring is going to happen. And that story is covered right there by the Star. Remember, this particular issue was given by Cabinet Secretary Agriculture, that is Peter Munya, arguing that the president had directed him to instruct the principal secretary in charge of livestock and cooperatives and the director general of the Kenya Meat Commission, who currently is James Ole Seriani, to ensure a seamless transfer of the Kenya Meat Commission to the Ministry of Agriculture. Now, pursuant to that, we've seen Parliament, that is Senate, issue questions and concern over how livestock will be delivered to a protected area and how viable is this particular transfer. But defending this move, we had the Cabinet Secretary Agriculture say that, you know what, the Kenya Defense Forces is the largest client or the largest, consumer of meat in as far as the Kenya Meat Commission's deliveries are concerned. So it makes proper demand and supply sense to have this particular commission transferred to the Defense Ministry. But Senate is not having that, and they would like to understand it. That story has been covered by page 11 of the Star today.
Now, talking about military and moving away from matters of meat and the defense aspect of it, is that Al-Shabaab did ambush and kill police. Now, while 2 others were injured, and this happened in Lafay, Mandera County. Now, the Kenya Defense Forces convoy was on the Lafay Alungu Elwak Road when it came under attack at around 6:45 a.m. yesterday. This is according to witnesses and police within the region. And the gang used grenades and rifles in the attack before retreating into a bush. Now, security agencies had been on alert ahead of marking the 7 years since the Westgate attack in Nairobi, where at least 70 people were killed and more than 200 injured. Now, statistics from that area indicate that attacks on security forces in the area have been on the rise since 2011, when Kenya sent her troops to Somalia to fight the Al-Shabaab. That's an update from Mandera County, 7 years after the Westgate attack.
Now let's look at the country's business, and going to the back page of the Daily Nation is that the main read there saying Uhuru to leave 9 trillion debt as he exits office. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated the problem by forcing emergency spending, reducing revenue as a whole. Now, there will be little borrowing space beyond 3 years, the 3 years that we have before we get to the ceiling when it comes to our country's debt capability, or other borrowing capability. And little borrowing is said to be what is left beyond the next 3 years, which implies that this will be the first crisis for the next president, who will be taking office after His Excellency President Kenyatta. Now, the national debt is projected to increase by 750 billion in the next 10 months, and that translates to about 2.6 billion in a day. And at this rate, the Parliament budget experts estimate that by 2022, when President Kenyatta will be leaving office, the debt could have hit 9.2 trillion, which is more than 3 times the total annual budget for the country, and way above the 50% debt threshold that has been set against the GDP for the country. Now, they anticipate little borrowing space beyond the next 3 years of when we hit that ceiling of 9 trillion, which is the statutory requirement. Now, this implies that, the first president after Kenyatta, who will be succeeding him in 2022, will be set for a crisis as he assumes office. It is estimated that the national debt will pile up to 7.5 trillion by June next year, up from 6.6 trillion, which was as of June this year. And this is according to the budget, the Parliamentary Budget Office, in a report that they put out. Now, looking at June of this year, the national debt stock had reached 6.6 trillion, which is 873 billion, or by a 15% increase as opposed to last year, and of course projected to be at 7.5 next year. And still, according to the Parliamentary Budget Office, it attributes this increment to the impact of low generation of domestic revenue, which is largely the main source of income for the government, because of the disruption of business by COVID-19 and pressure from expenditure on ongoing programs in the country. And looking at the previous financial years, the primary balance grew on account of significant expenditure and infrastructural projects, energy production, and social expenditures. However, COVID-19 just exacerbated the whole situation. Thinking that the next president will be assuming a state which will be in a financial crisis, I wouldn't want to be president then.
Jennifer.
Alama za dukuduku.
But remember the conversation you had yesterday, James? I mean, not James, but James.
Did you just call me James?
No, James.
James.
Oh my
James.
God.
James Wamboy.
I am trying to keep up with
My
the
brother is
here
called
that's coming
James,
through.
so I forgive you. Tutapigana off air.
Pole sana. I'm just trying to keep up with feedback here from
James.
a certain James. But there, I'll read it out. It's about the transfer of KMC to the Ministry of Defense. But you had a conversation yesterday, Jane, about relationships.
Yes.
Now, there's a story here on page 12 of the Star. Not wanted, not loved is the misery in depression. And he gives us stories, harrowing experiences of 3 depression survivors who show now factors ranging from dysfunctional family, toxic marriages, and relationships. It's quite sad because we're still not accepting that depression is a reality in the country, and so many young people are going down this road. They either have to settle for less, or they have to just adopt to lifestyles that are not exactly functioning for them, but not because they do not know it's not functioning for them. It's simply because they are creating an escape route. And one Justus Ochieng, one of the people who've been featured in this story, has a quote for you. And he says that due to too much drinking, he got into too much drinking. He could not imagine or even understand what he was going through, and therefore he resorted to drinking. And due to too much drinking, I ended up taking loans to sustain the lifestyle of escape that I had created. But when it came to paying, I started struggling. And this was the point where I attempted to commit suicide 3 times. Check on people, guys. Mind your circle. Be real with those who are around you, because you never know what battle someone is fighting, and you could be the pill. You could be that strategy that is going to help them overcome it.
And you know, Sam, speaking of relationships, if there's one thing that I have come to learn, and of course in life you get to learn some things the hard way for them to have that proper impact, is that when it comes to relationship, you have the opportunity to set the level of joy that you expect and the level of pain you will accept.
Yeah, but at times, you know, people were raised differently.
Yes,
there are people who, as much as that choice is with them, they might not recognize that they actually have it. So it takes a tall order on them going through toxic marriages, toxic relationships, because yes, they feel the need to be accepted, they feel the need to be loved, and they understand better how not being loved, how not being needed feels like. So they will do anything and everything to try and belong, even if it means getting an escape route.
And that is why I say some of these things you'll have to learn them the hard way in order to understand that it gets to a point in life where you just don't settle.
You know,
where your past experiences will not allow you to settle. And it's unfortunate for some, it's much later in life, and fortunate for some, it's way early in life you get to that woke point. But for those who have to go through depression, my heart goes out to them. Those who have to go through, getting suicidal thoughts just because of our relationship. And we take relationships for granted, but we do not understand how they are such a huge part of us. We are humans and we are relational. And relationships are a foundation of who we are, in as much as we say, I'm going to do this alone, or this or that. Relationships take such a huge toll on you, whether you know it or you don't know it. So it gets to a point where you have to set boundaries around yourself to protect you from other external forces that might be doing you from all sides. And that is when things have just almost hit the ceiling.
I know you're sipping something. I feel like I also need to do the same, because
hot people sip hot water in the morning.
And, hot people sip hot water in studio. And it is what it is. I mean, never go that route. Tafadhali. Never ever go that route. But you know what? Mhenga wetu ametunyamazia, amengoja tuongee, and then afanye closing remarks. Sawa Regina, we are your carpet.
Over to you.
In regard to relationships, I'd want to actually side with both of you this morning, as unfortunately within the social strata, even the way we enculturated, women find themselves, especially women, and I'm going to speak because I'm a woman, we've been, the burden falls squarely on you. If your relationship fails, the person they're going to pick at is a woman. But what I have learned in my years of life is that I have to be ready to unlearn what I have learned. Not because I have read it, not because of anyone else's experience, but through my own experience. So I think each and every individual has an opportunity, yes, to actually decide what level of love and happiness you need to have. And that's my greatest lesson. Yes.
And
yes.
the level of
Okay,
pain you
Regina.
also
Yes.
accept.
How much pain are you ready to accept and endure? And at the same time,
The
how
level of
much
joy you
love
want.
and joy do you want?
It's okay,
You
Regina.
choose. You have a
Yeah.
choice. You
Yeah,
have a
sure.
choice.
And you
Regina,
know, Sam, that is
some-
a power that we
some-
hold that we
somebody
don't
give her a
understand when
hug.
we are getting into relationships. We get into relationships with a facade, with this honeymoon phase is a lie. You get into relationships all high and all, but you don't realize it is at that point where you get to lay the foundation of that relationship. So when you get into that relationship, have these conversations with your partner, if you can.
Wow. You know, I feel like extending a hug to you ladies.
TED Talk.
All of you are talking about experiences and lessons you've learned. And I'm right here wondering, okay.
What have I been doing all my life?
I'm like, you know, that is one. Number two, I'm like, you know, especially Regina. Someone give Regina a hug. First of all.
Virtual hugs.
Me hugging me.
That's yours. 'Cause
Yeah, it feels warm.
You've said a lot that makes sense.
Yes.
But as I said, not everyone is wired that way. You know, upbringing is a reality. Society is a reality. Your interaction with life over time as you matured into an adult is a reality. And these factors could have shaped the decisions that you're making now. Please, please kindly, we are beseeching thee.
Oh, ye who's
Set
watching us.
thy level of happiness, and thou shalt not settle for less.
Shan't.
Kindly, you know, after all this preaching we've done right here on The Only Way to Start Your Day, just pick something. And we're sorry for you that is going through it, because I know people, you know.
Do not trade down.
Yeah.
Don't trade down?
Don't trade down. Like, just do you, go through it, but know you're not alone. Okay? You know you're not alone, but as Mariah Carey would say, when a hero comes along with the strength to carry on,
I know you'll
cast your fears
survive.
aside. All right? Because indeed, you will overcome. So look inside you and be strong, and therein realize that a hero lies in you.
Imagine this is a gong. Gong.
That was heavy. Anyway,
I know.
Just told me that you,
Yeah.
it
Cheers
clearly
to you all.
indicates that you actually listen to some R&B.
Yes, I
And that
do.
is good. Now let us focus on matters of finances. Is that the question is, why are Kenyans sitting ducks as hackers aim at weak systems?
All
yes,
right.
we've been doing a lot of online trading, and you know, people have been claiming that they're making money. However, we have weak systems. Now, a recent report by Liquid Telecom estimates that Kenya loses 30 billion shillings through cybercrime. And most susceptible institutions are within the financial services sector. We all know why. We are not investing as much as we should in cybersecurity. Now, one TransUnion Kenya Chief Executive Billy Owino says it is critical that financial services providers put in place strong measures to mitigate fraud and cybercrime as they accelerate to digitization. Remember, some of the emerging trends is that in the fourth industrial revolution, as well the Internet of Things. So we are already there. So we need to also equally invest on cyber, strong measures to mitigate fraud and cybercrime. And this is an article you can quite get insight from. It is on today's issue of the Standard newspaper. That is page 7 on the financial sectors page. Just learn what you need to do to ensure that you do not continue bleeding as far as, you know, cybercrime and fraud is concerned.
Yeah. And you know what? On that note, before we dilute all the hengaism we've done on this show, that past hour, we bring in the headlines to a close, but more of Good Morning Kenya coming your way after these messages. Good morning.
KBC Channel 1.
Those three of them must be ridiculing me. They have ashamed the future emperor by escaping from the prison.
You know Dastan so well. Then why do you want to kill him?
I have done many things to get to this position. I have killed people. I have risked my own life. So what do you think? You can make me blurt out the truth so easily. Just go and call Dastan.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
The boy deserves the truth.
Kwani wewe hujui chochote kuhusu sugarcoat ukweli?
Nimechoka na uongo.
Something's not right about that relationship, if I can call it that.
Saizi mimi niko interested kuhusu relationship yetu, if I can call it that.
I should pay Connor a visit.
Why would you do that? What do you aim to achieve? Ma, please calm down and tell me exactly what happened.
Link, and I just want to give a bit of a recap for our viewers who might have missed what exactly we're talking about this morning when it comes to matters traffic. Our focus is specifically on Nairobi City. What you're seeing on your screens right now is just the map of the traffic flow, but again, as I mentioned, I want to do a bit of a recap for our viewers to better understand why this morning you're focusing on Nairobi City. So this is why. This is the earlier image of the reconstruction process. Now remember that the Kenyan Urban Roads Authorities as well as KENHA are just in a bid to reconstruct, major roads in Nairobi as well as outside Nairobi. They're doing some recarpeting in some other parts. They're even just installing footbridges in some other areas, ensuring that drainage systems are up to par, and not forgetting the famous NMT that is not being spearheaded, especially by NMS here in Nairobi. So this is an image of Nakuru City, and this is how that process began. One major reason as to why this road is still being expanded, or they thought that it's better to expand this road, which is famously known as the Nairobi Nakuru Highway, is because of, first of all, to reduce on the traffic flow. What you're seeing right now is an image of the Salga area, and if you can remember, a number of accidents were happening in this area. Oftentimes you'd hear in the news Salga area, around Salga area, accidents here and there. So this is actually also the famous Nairobi Nakuru corridor. So also in a bid to expand this specific route, because like I mentioned earlier, traffic flow reduction, and also the other reason is because it is a very instrumental road, and this is in regards to the kind of this in regards to transportation of goods and cargo from Nairobi to some counties outskirts of Nairobi, as well as just going to Nakuru as well, and not forgetting the country of Uganda through the Malaba border. So also that transportation of cargo and goods normally happen, and this is the route that is normally used, the Nairobi Nakuru Highway. So again, that is why also they are in a bid to continue expanding, the other parts of the route, the area of the road that haven't yet been expanded. So this is how this process has been coming along. And remember, I told you they're not just doing expansion only, they're also recarpeting, some areas or some parts along this highway where the roads are a bit not so good. So what you're seeing right now is a bit of recarpeting on this specific route. And also what came along with that is that, again, NMT was also put in place. So this is just one image of a stretch along that specific area. It is a 187-kilometer road, a project being done by the public-private partnership, Triple P, which ultimately means that it's not just taxes that has gone into the process of reconstructing this road, maintenance as well as design. It is also, a part of the private finance, which again is just in a bid to ensure that this all is put in place. So I told you earlier that some parts have not yet been complete in terms of reconstruction, but others is already done with. And part of what is done with is actually the heart of Nakuru City. So this is just a clear image of that, which is already complete. I've already given you the reasons as to why they are doing this, and we can clearly see also from this image that NMT is still again in place. So remember, I keep telling you oftentimes that any new road that is being reconstructed or earmarked for reconstruction or even recarpeting ongoing, NMT has to be put in place because they're also trying to cater for pedestrians as well as for cyclists. So this is an image of the city, Nakuru city, and how it's looking like. Expanding this road to dual carriage road has four lanes on each of the side, actually on each side, 4 lanes on both, on both sides. So now let's come to traffic and see if at all of this in which they are doing is serving, if at all it's serving its purpose. But before we get to do that, before we go to actually the heart of Nakuru city there, let's just begin from Maimahiu, because this is the area in which reconstruction is still happening. I told you earlier that some parts are already done and complete with. Of course, also means that it's already opened up to the public. Some, is still an ongoing process. And I also mentioned, if you are someone who normally uses this specific route, this is the Nairobi-Nakuru highway, going to areas such as the Nyanza part of the country or even Western, then you can clearly bear witness that around this specific area, this is actually the Maimahiu area, around this area is normally a lot of confusion because it is still ongoing. But then again, this project, they mentioned that it will take a total of 3 years. It began in 2019. We are in 2020, so probably we're expecting late 2021 or early 2022 for it to be complete and done with. And most especially around this area, it is still where there's an ongoing reconstruction process of expanding this specific route. Now let's come to traffic, try and see just a bit of how it's doing this morning when it comes to traffic on this specific area where there's still a bit of ongoing works. And actually around Maimahiu area, it branches off as you head over to this is actually Nairobi Narok Road, as well as Nairobi Nakuru, which is our focus this morning. Now, look at the stretch that is Nairobi, Nakuru, just via Maimahiu, as you head over to Nakuru city and also the outskirts of Nairobi past Nakuru as well. On this specific stretch and just slightly past Maimahiu there, traffic building up. But again, also it's a manageable kind of traffic there. And this is specifically on that stretch that is leaving Maimahiu as you head over to Nakuru city. That is just where traffic is beginning to slightly build up there. But also one of the things that I've spotted around this area, oftentimes when I'm around this specific place, is that also traffic police are normally stationed, because I mentioned to you earlier that there's still ongoing works, and oftentimes it gets a bit confusing. So just being there to try and see how best they can control traffic, as well as just try and see how best they can, guide the vehicles as well as the car owners there. But in terms of traffic beginning to open up a bit as you leave Maimahiu area, coming all the way to Nakuru, will be opening up a bit there, coming through that specific stretch. But on major parts of this route or on this specific lane is just traffic really building up there, and that is why we're seeing that orange color there. But as much as yes, it's building up, it is a manageable kind of traffic, so that's why we're seeing that color. But also the other thing that I've noted with this specific area is that unlike Nairobi city, where oftentimes in this around this hour we'll just be seeing more of either the red or the maroon, indicating that we're moving at a really slow pace or just at a standstill. In this city or around this area, I haven't spotted any of that. Again, just an indicator that whatever works they were doing in terms of that road expansion clearly is serving its purpose, because I told you earlier that that is what was also part of the plan to reduce on the traffic flow along this route. So coming all the way to Nakuru city or Nakuru county, if you may, moving pretty fast as you head over to the city there, moving really fast, just in some specific areas where there's a bit of a traffic gridlock, but a manageable kind of traffic. So also what that means is that if you're coming from Nakuru going all the way to Nairobi, moving really fast, barely any traffic. And also just leaving Nakuru as well, actually leaving Nairobi going again to Nakuru, also barely any kind of heavy traffic gridlock. This is that area just next to Kikuyu, Kangemi Kikuyu, just before you leave Nairobi, again also on that specific stretch, barely any kind of heavy traffic build-up. This is actually that area before you get to Kino, Kikuyu there, Kangemi on those sides, moving again really fast, just on some specific area where there's a bit of a traffic build-up. That's why I was saying, if you're leaving Nairobi going to Nakuru city this morning hour, a smooth sailing for you. And also if you're leaving Nakuru coming to Nairobi, again also a smooth sailing for you, barely any kind of traffic, just on some specific areas or some specific parts where there's a bit of a traffic build-up. So also what that means is that we don't need to look at some alternative routes, because, well, the road doesn't really look that bad this morning. So that's how it's looking like in terms of traffic. Our focus just being specifically on Nairobi Nakuru Highway, and this is because of that process, that road reconstruction process that has been happening, as well as the continuing ongoing process of this expansion of this specific route. So that's how it's doing in terms of traffic. Barely any kind of heavy traffic build up around Nakuru City this Tuesday morning.
All right, thank you for continuing staying with us right here on Good Morning Kenya. We are using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. Our individual handles ever remain at Ray Manyara, at Rina Range, at Sama W. Njoroge, and at Jade Wamboy across all the socials. You can always interact with us via those platforms, and we appreciate you so much for staying with us as we started this programming up until now. I see Zablon Esikuri pale Twitter saying watching from Spring Valley. We have Eunice Githogori who's watching from Londiani saying good morning Kenya, watching from Londiani. Esther Ndegwa Muthure iko present ndani ya Good Morning Kenya. We also have Pastor Paul Wafri area. Good morning, watching from Nakuru County. We have Kingsley Okwema loving the show. Felix also appreciating the show. We also have Saru Wachenje also joining us. And of course, also we are getting love from our people in Masaku. Na tusemangi Machakos, tunasemanga Massachusetts. And I much love going out to Esther Mudhini and her baby Jaden Amani, who celebrated his birthday last week. So happy birthday to you, Jaden, and a good morning to you, Esther Mudhini. We appreciate you for staying with us right here on Good Morning Kenya as we bring you the best way to start your morning right here on KBC Channel 1. So right now we continue with the day's programming, and we want to get into the first discussion for the day. And this particular discussion is about our children, and especially when it comes to helping our children continuously learn and grow. And to help us with this particular discussion, we have with us in studio this morning Sylvia Murumbwa, who is a designer by profession and also the owner of 360 Degrees Marketing. Karibu sana, Sylvia.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
How can our viewers find you on social media?
You can find me at Sylvia Murumbwa on Facebook. Yeah.
All right. Now, let's just start with the fact that you are a designer by profession. I see you also have studied in the areas of computer-aided design from Rhode Island School of Design in the USA. Tell us a bit about that side of you before we get to the teaching part of the divide.
Well, I am a designer. I run a company called 360 Degrees Marketing, which heavily does design, print, and branding. So I'm very well experienced in that area. I have worked with many organizations, including Trademark East Africa, Ernst & Young, the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I have worked with many companies, even small and medium enterprises.
All right.
Yeah.
And how is the design industry in Kenya, from your experience working with the different companies that you have worked with, the opportunity you've had to interact with them, and also other creatives in that space? How is that industry as a whole in Kenya?
Well, design is fast growing. Before, design was not very well recognized in Kenya, but people have come to realize that you need visibility for your company to continue to grow.
Yes.
You need good branding. Say, for example, Coca-Cola.
Yes.
It has to brand and rebrand all the time, not just for the generation that is there now, but the current one, but also the children who are growing. They need to know what Coca-Cola is, as much as it has been there for many years. Yeah, so branding is something that companies cannot run away from, because everything right now, for your company to be visible, for your company to be known, you have to brand, you have to have good designs, you have to do print work, but most of the things right now are going online and digital. So even digital media is actually critical for every company right now.
And that is why you went ahead and founded this particular company, 360 Degrees Marketing?
Yes.
360. I like the idea
yes,
behind it. I can see it.
We do everything
All
from
right.
the beginning to the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, aside from being a designer by profession, you are also very passionate about children. Where does your love for kids stem from? Is it from your upbringing, your interaction with children in society, an experience you went through or you saw a child going through? Where does it all stem from?
Well, my passion, first of all, starts with me being a mom. I am a mother of 3 children.
Yay.
And one is 9, another one is 6, and the other one is 4.
Okay.
So I always want to look for ways of how do I raise my children better. For them to just grow up to be children who are better in the society, who are innovators, who are not just boxed in their thinking, but children who think broadly and who will be the game changers in this world. Yeah, so in my own little space of the home, am I able to make that change? Am I able to mold these children into children who have good character? Because with the moral degradation in the world right now, we need more of such children.
Now, you know, the biggest place where children get so much of the experiences is in school. And now, you know, we are in the state that we are in now with this pandemic, children have been forced to stay out of school, and now they're being forced to go back to school. And that is now where homeschooling comes into play. But before we get to that whole bit about homeschooling, what are your thoughts about the education system in Kenya as a whole?
Well,
honestly speaking, as a mother of 3, fungua roho.
Well, I went through the 844 system, and it has its pros and cons, and I'm not here to
judge
the parents who take their children to school. Having taken my own children to school before I got them into the homeschooling system. So I can say that with the introduction of the CBC right now, it is drawing closer to what I envisioned, you know, that my children would go through in terms of education. Because right now, parents are more hands-on, and with the CBC, the parents are more involved in the children's education, the children's growth. So I can say that the government is really trying, and if it takes those steps towards making education better, then we will have a better education system.
And still looking at the state in which we are in with this pandemic, the fact that kids have been out of school for 6 months and now all of a sudden they're being told you're going to go back to school. Do you feel this system of education that we have in this day and time, of course we are in the 844 transitioning to the CBC, and also the way it's up and down is also in some way destabilizing our children?
I cannot say that it is destabilizing per se, because the 844 system was also very good. And I can say that, you know, what the 844 system had was, it was teacher-centered. But now things are moving from teacher-centered to student-centered. Yeah, such that, you know, before, the teacher is the one who had the information.
Yeah.
And it is the teacher who was giving the information to the students. So all the information that the student had to come from the teacher. But right now, the student is getting to explore more, to learn more. And the learning is not just concentrated on the 4 corners of the classroom.
Yeah.
Now, children are more explorative, let me say. And they can learn from different areas. The technology, the internet has provided a lot of let me say, it has made the world a global village, yeah, such that the information that someone who is in America has is the same information that someone who is in a third world country is already getting.
Yeah.
So there is no much difference. So long as we do not concentrate on expecting the information to come from the teacher, then the child should not be destabilized in their education, because education can now be received from any point.
So the problem is the concentration of knowledge being one point always.
Yeah.
All right. And now, speaking of homeschooling, maybe from your experience, and of course these are expressly your thoughts, your understanding of homeschooling, and of course for the benefit of our viewers, and what homeschooling entails.
Homeschooling is basically, you know, it comes from the two words home and schooling, literally. Yeah, so the children are educated from home. And mainly the parent is the main tutor. Or if the parent feels overwhelmed or needs help, they can always get a resource person who will be able to assist the children, because we don't expect the parent to be competent in all areas.
Yes.
Yeah, so sometimes a parent can need help. So in areas where the parent needs help, they can always get in a resource person to come in and also assist the children in learning. Yeah, so some of the education also happens online. There are online teachers, there are programs or curriculums that allow the children to learn online.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, you are a strong advocate for homeschooling, and I'd like to understand why that is so. And of course, given that you had mentioned that your children were previously in the regular system of education, going to school, before you switched them to homeschooling. Why did you get to a point as a parent to make that decision to go with homeschooling? Because now this involves you being more hands-on.
I felt that my children were having less time with me. Okay, maybe that was a selfish kind of
It's a struggle every mother goes through.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah, every mother goes through that.
Yeah.
And I really needed more time to spend with my children, and I needed to just do things differently. And I remember one time when my son was in baby class, the school bus used to come at 5:45 to pick him, and I would wonder, why would 4-year-old be picked at 5:45 a.m. Then they would go through the traffic. He was the first one to be picked. He would go through the traffic, and by the time he's at school, he is so exhausted, he can hardly take in much. Then he would be the last one to be dropped home, so he would be home at around 5, a 4-year-old.
That is a complete 12
And when he got to
stretch.
first grade, there's a time we moved houses, and the bus driver told us that we'll be picking him at 4:45 a.m. So when we resorted to dropping him to school, we would spend a lot of time in traffic just to take the child to the school that we wanted, because we believed that it had the values that we wanted, and we liked the teachers, we liked the school. It was a Christian-based school. Yeah, so I felt, as I was dropping the children, I felt we were spending a lot of time in traffic. So I would take that time in traffic and just try and teach them a few things here and there. We would teach something that is of their age level. And I saw they were enjoying it. And by the time the child comes back home, they were so exhausted, they had homeworks to do. They also want to play with their children. And should I want to do anything extra with them, they were too exhausted, they were just beat, they just want to go to bed. So with all these things, I realized that I am doing a lot of injustice to the children. They need more, they want more, but do we have the time? No. Do they have the energy to even attend to other areas? So, you know, with homeschooling, you are able to be flexible with your curriculum, and the child is allowed to explore and to do things which are outside books. Because I believe education is not just about books. There is just more to education than books. It's supposed to bring out the child wholly. It's supposed to take care of the academics, number one, the emotional intelligence, the social, how is this child able to deal with adversities? You know, this is a harsh world.
The realities of life.
Yes, the realities of life. You know, this child should be able to learn how to deal with other people. So I believe that you know, homeschooling was going to give them this platform, and it was going to be a safe environment for the children to learn with less pressure, because I believe also, as much as, you know, there's the goodness of taking children to school, but most of it is just exam based,
oriented, read to pass the exam.
Yes, you have to pass this exam and you have to memorize, and if you do not memorize this, then you are not as brilliant as the other children. We do not see that children are actually gifted differently. As much as I do not know 1 + 1 at age 4, does not mean that I will not know 1 + 1. It's just that it is, I do not know it right now. Maybe someone else will know it right now. So being graded with the same person who has already known 1 + 1 at age 4 is actually unfair to me, because I could be having strengths in other areas. So with homeschooling, I always tell my son that you are your own competition. You can only be better than what you were yesterday. So I saw the way he, you know, he became someone else once he started homeschooling.
And I'd like for you to just better help us and even the viewers at home who are parents watching us this morning to understand the actual change that you as a parent saw in your children, comparing to when they were going to regular school as opposed to homeschooling, and the different aspects of their lives, looking at social development, emotional, academic, psychological, all of that, the slight changes that you noticed as a parent.
Well, I can say that it wasn't slight changes.
Oh, yeah?
They were like very huge, noticeable changes.
All right.
I can talk of my experience, because it's my son's, you know, experience that I have, and my daughter's. I noticed that even his confidence level went very, very high. Before, he would be shy to do other things because he felt, I'm not doing it as good as so-and-so in school is doing. And sometimes he would come home so downcast, and he's wondering, Mom, why wasn't I chosen to go into the music festival? Mom, why wasn't I chosen to lead in this? And I believe I can do it. So such things used to bring him down and used to make him feel so small. So when we changed into homeschooling, he really became very confident, because there was no one to put him down. And he became, his health even improved, because at school sometimes he would go, and the food that they've given, he wasn't very comfortable eating it. And when he came home, of course, he enjoys the food. He said, oh, what I like about homeschooling, the other thing is I enjoy the food. There is nutritious food at home. So the fact that you are able to customize the interest of the child. And, you know, when he came home, another thing that was very noticeable was we were able to nurture his talents. Better. Yeah. We realized how talented he was in music. So we brought in a music teacher who took him through music, and now he can do the piano very well. When he was
9 years.
Yes, at 9 years. He actually started at 7. When he was at school, sometimes they would have swimming galas, and maybe because he wasn't as good as the other children, they would be put to swim during the parents' day at the swimming pool, and with them they would be put to just do the play. And he wanted to do the swimming, but maybe because he has not proved to the teacher that he actually knows how to swim, he would be put aside. So such things, they demoralize the children, and they start making the child feel like, I am not good enough. But when we took him to the swimming tutor, he could swim the deep end. He could swim as many styles as he wanted. And we just saw him just, you know, come out in a very strong way that we never saw before.
And still looking at the experience you had with your son, how has it changed you as a parent when it comes to how you look at education as a whole, and when it comes to just teaching your child life?
It changed my perspective. First of all, we really bonded. when we started homeschooling. Before, you know, we had very little time. He goes to school, maybe the only time that I would bond with him is at the car. Then when I pick him up, but when we started school transport, there was very little time, because he would leave very early, then come back very late. Then I would be on his neck, you have to finish your homework because tomorrow is school. Then after he's finished his homework, he would, you know, he would say, Mom, I'm so tired, I really need to go to bed.
Yes.
So there was no time to converse. I wouldn't know who the child is. So with homeschooling, it gave me time to understand the child. What is he feeling? What does he want? What are his strengths? What are his weaknesses? So we got to work on his weaknesses, and we would communicate more.
Yes.
So the child grew. I could see the child grew in so many areas.
In leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
And also, in as much as, you know, homeschooling came with its benefits and all these upsides, I'm sure there are a few challenges that you had to encounter and adjust to just resolving them. Maybe in light of being realistic and encouraging another parent who wants to go this route, what should they expect when it comes to the challenges that might come with homeschooling?
I think the most noticeable challenge and the most spoken about challenge is how is their social life going to be. So you really have to sort that, otherwise the child will feel lonely. I remember my son at some point also told me, Mom, I really feel lonely. Then he gave me an option. He told me, why don't you bring my sister also into the homeschool? I didn't want to bring both of them because I was just starting out and I needed to work with him so that as
you get the hang of it.
Yes, and get just the hang of it, so that by the time the sister comes in, then I already can deal with 2 children. So when I brought the sister on board, he was really happy. At least they had someone to play with. And with homeschooling, there are many COPs. COPs are like families coming together to, you know, homeschooling families. Yes. So with the many COPs are especially around Nairobi, where you can register and be taking your child, where they will socialize. Like the COP that I usually take my son to is called Young Engineers. So with that they learn engineering. They also do science experiments. They also do PE, and they also socialize. So it was a very good platform for socialization. Well, apart from that, we also had the church. The church really played a very huge role in giving, you know, a social environment for him. So he has a lot of friends, and he would be so excited about church, and he would participate a lot in church programs.
All right, now as we close this particular discussion, what will be your advice to parents who have been thinking about homeschooling but they aren't sure because they don't know where to go to get, you know, the curriculum for homeschooling and, you know, the resources that are needed this morning? In brief, what would you tell them this morning?
I can say that homeschooling is doable. The curriculum that I'm using currently is an American-based curriculum, and it's very organized. It comes with a manual. It can be used by anyone, and it is student-centered, such that it's the student who runs their own learning, and the child actually grows. The child does the work, scores their own work. So as a parent, you become like a supervisor. So you supervise that and make sure that is what the child has done, is it correct? How is he progressing? But mostly the child does everything. So it triggers curiosity inside the child, and the child is able to explore in many ways. So
homeschooling is doable. It is absolutely doable. So if you're a parent who has been thinking about homeschooling but you don't know how to go about it, and especially now with this pandemic, we were thrown all over the place. You know, it's like water in a bottle and then being shaken. Schools closed all of a sudden. Now they're reopening all of a sudden because you know you had planned for January, but now here we are. The ministry saying schools are going to be reopening next week. So many saying they do not have the financial capability to take the kids back to school. Maybe homeschooling is an option you would want to look at. I'm sure the resources are there online. You can go ahead and read more about it, get to know the different sources where you can get curriculums that are tailor-made for your children. And of course, the best thing, as I'm getting from this particular conversation, is that homeschool can be tailor-made to each and every child. So read more about it, do your research to understand it before you decide to take your child through this route of schooling. Thank you so much. We have been speaking with Sylvia Murumba, who is a designer by profession. She's also the founder of 360 Degrees in Marketing and also a champion for homeschooling. We appreciate you for being with us this morning, Sylvia.
Thank you very much for
All
having
right.
me.
Now we want to just have a quick look at the roads before we get to continue with the day's discussion. Do stay with us.
Say all kind of things about you.
We them on. Shake up your knee to mushia one, done to mushia one. When your booty got show me now.
Baby, one time. Bossy baby, give me 2 times. Full 180. Crazy.
Trago y ella la botella. Let's go.
Ha. I needed some with some bop in it. Mamacita, where you at? I've been trying to reach you.
Choro, 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 choro. Te pago, te pago more, te pago.
Katoto shepu awe, ayawe, ayawe.
Pequeña katoto, camini pequeña, pequeña.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Oh, sweetie, what if everything we've been thinking is just a misunderstanding and something has really happened to Ramon?
I understand. I get it, Juana. You want to think that way. He's your son. Unfortunately, it's not that way. The facts say otherwise, and Ramon is not a good person. Ramon? He's wounded. We need to take him to a doctor. Help me get him to a hospital.
How are we going to do that, miss? The closest hospital is more than 2 hours by car from here.
Do you want to know what I'd really like? To disappear from this planet. I want to go far away and not have to hear about Ramon ever again in my life.
In Love with Ramon. Next on.
Every day we are go fight. I think it's best that you forget me. I see me. I feel love from a distance. War, come my way. Anything that you want, oh my love, I'm gonna give you it with just 2 sweet reggae.
I must be close for dying. I wait and find time for hang out.
All right, back to back from matters concerning children, we now get to our conversation about women who are at the forefront, bringing that change that we need, breaking that glass ceiling and telling other young girls, you know what, girl, you can do it. Do not let anybody put a cap on you, because you are your own limitation in this journey we call life. Welcome if you're just joining us. I am Jane Wamboy. Glad you are with us, and we can let us know where you are watching us from this morning. The hashtag to use on Twitter ever remains Good Morning Kenya. Our official station handle at KBC Channel 1. My handle is at Jane Wamboy across all the social media platforms. So let us know where you're watching us from, how you are enjoying the show as well. So right now we want to move on to our Women at the Forefront segment, as you can see here. And today in studio we have with us one lady who is just doing everything because she knows that she can do it all. I am talking about Rose Emily Macharia. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Glad you're with us this morning.
I'm glad to be here.
Umerelax sasa?
Kabisa.
Uko sawa?
Kabisa.
Tufanye hii mambo?
Yes.
She is the founder of Baraka Valley Farms, and we're going to be getting to know more about that. But you are also big in the engineering industry, and we want to just start to start by understanding your journey to getting to where you are today. So maybe we can just start with how growing up was and how you feel that has contributed to your person who you are this day.
Okay, my name's Rose Emily. When I went to high school, let me just go straight to high school.
Yes.
In Form 1, I met students who are in Form 4. I had a cousin there who kept telling me physics was very difficult and I would not do it. And I'm this person who really liked being challenged. I told her that I will do it.
Yes.
And luckily, I got a very encouraging teacher in high school. So I did it. And I took on a project up to Form 4 that took me to national levels. From there, I did good in school. And I really wanted to be a pilot. But unfortunately now, flying was much expensive back then.
Oh, yeah.
So I decided if I cannot be a pilot, then why don't I do engineering? So I ended up doing mechanical engineering. Yes, aeronautical. And from there, I still felt that was not enough. I did applied mechanics that led me to oil and gas industry. And I was among the first ladies to ever work in a refinery since 1963 in Kenya. Yes.
And looking at how you were brought up in your home setup, would you say that that has contributed to this go-getter attitude that you have about life when you're told you can't do this? Mutanijua mimi ni nani? I will do it and surpass your expectations.
Exactly. I'm born in a family of men only. I'm the only lady there.
Hey, shout out to the only daughters in their families.
And my dad also is an engineer. And he had so much faith in me. And he kept telling me, I can do it, I can do it. And wherever I told him that I want to do engineering or I want to do, to do anything in the main field, he supports me. He's always there for me. So basically I can say I have always looked after him. So he is my mentor. Yes.
He has always been there to remind you that, you can do anything.
I can do anything. And he has my back covered.
He got you all the way.
Yes.
And looking at the fact that you're one of the few women who joined this industry back then when it was still considered a male-dominated industry, was being a woman ever used against you while you were in your just regular day-to-day work?
Yes, it has.
Was there an instance that you remember that really got to you, the fact that, they reminded you you're a woman?
Yes, it did.
Tell us about that.
I remember one time when I was pregnant with my firstborn son, and we were working in this male-dominated field, and the challenges that I got were, they really wanted, the men, since they had never seen any woman working in that field, oil and gas, we are working night shift, we are doing these things, they really wanted to see if I'm able to, if I can stand up to the game. And I could see probably when we are having some instances, because when you're working in a refinery, anything can happen anytime. So you have to be alert. You have alarms, you have that keep buzzing. So you have to go and check what's happening in the field and know what's happening in the plant. So at times I would be sluggish and I wonder how do I even drag myself to the field, and I see men running. Then it reminded me I am a woman.
Oh.
Yes.
Now, looking at that whole situation, the fact that you found this gender stigmatization already in this industry that you loved and you wanted to do more about, What do you feel as a society we need to change to just shift this whole conversation about saying that this industry is for men, this industry is for women, and we should stick to those gender roles separately?
What I think about gender-based
stigmatization,
stigmatization
yes.
is one, I would say everybody is able to do, and I still believe women do better because I can say we know how to coordinate many things at a time. Yes, and we are more careful, we are more cautious. Even as you see, when you're driving, insurers want to insure more women than men when it comes to cars. So basically, I think we are all able to do it. If I've done it for 14 years and nothing has gone wrong, we are all able to do it.
You're able to do it.
Everybody's able to do it. And especially if you give it to the women, they will do it better.
They can do it better.
Yes.
But if you have also this mentality that, you know, kazi chafu, kazi ya mikono, si ya wanawake, that mentality, how can we just change that state of thinking among our young girls especially who feel, you know, hands-on jobs ni za wanaume?
What I will tell the ladies is, any job goes. And especially when you're working with men, I would say it's more peaceful. And they will motivate you.
Really?
Yeah, it's more peaceful. And they will motivate you. And most of them, since they think you cannot achieve it, they want to push you to the limit. And while doing it, you successfully achieve what you're meant to be doing.
So in essence, they are pushing you towards your goals even faster.
Yes, every day is a challenge. Every day you wake up is a challenge because you also want to prove that you're good at it.
You're good at it.
Yes.
All right. Now, you also still ventured into now the Juakali sector with getting scrap metals and all. Tell us a bit about how that came into play.
Currently, my dad does Juakali industry, and we concentrate on seconds. We get seconds from Mabati rolling mills.
Yeah.
And now when I went to the industry, I realized that if you have one job, then you're doomed. This life is so beautiful. You need to have so many other sources of income that can sustain you. So
is there something that happened that reminded you like, hey, kukuwa na job moja to one stream of income is not the life that I want?
Yes.
When you're transitioning especially?
Yes, yes. When I was my transition came in when I realized my salary, I have to wait for it for 30 days. Once it comes in, it goes to the rent, it goes to my bills, and I am waiting there for another 30 days, and I don't even know what to do. Yes. So I realized I need to do something.
Yes.
And luckily, I got somebody who helped me. That's my dad. He told me, you can do it. So I started with Juakali industry. I forgot I went to school. I forgot I am an engineer. I forgot everything. I came to Juakali. I met some few scrap dealers there. They told me what they're looking for, raw materials especially, and they would not be able to get that. And I found my way out, how I would get the materials and supply to them. And I'm so sure most of them do not even know if I went to school because I will just do Kikuyu and Kiswahili there. And it has been a success.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you find other women when you were at this, or it was just mostly another, you know, area that more men focus on?
It's a men-dominated industry, I must say. We had very few women, and we still have very few women who dare do that because, you know, the Juakali industry, especially when it comes to scrap metal, when it comes to fabrication and all these things, it's a men-dominated industry. Yes.
And looking at the fact that you chose to go this direction, what are some of those values that you hold dear that help you just wake up every day, remember why you are doing this, in as much as, you know, people may say this as ni kazi ya wanaume, angalia huyu mwanamke sasa, in as much as there are those labels being thrown around when it comes to your grind and your hustle, values that anchor you?
What really pushes me, and the values that pushes me is, at the end of the day, I smile all the way to the bank.
Oh, yes.
And that is the most important thing.
The volume.
Yes.
Speaker.
I smile all the way.
Yeah.
I smile all the way to the bank. And it's so beautiful because it is not, the industry is not controlled there. So you get to things that, it's non-competitive, I will say, right now. So you're the one who makes your rules as you go. Yes, you make your rules as you go.
You make your rules as you go.
Yes.
Now, speaking of multiple, you know, revenue generating streams, tumetoka mechanical engineering, tukaenda metal works, sasa tuende kulima. Baraka Valley Farms. Idea kulima ilitoka wapi sasa?
After school, I went, after doing my engineering, I went back to school. I did a degree in KEMU, marketing.
Uko na degree ngapi kwanza?
Mingi.
Nasikia degree hapa, I studied here, then I went there.
You see, if you want to pursue anything, it's better you start by getting the knowledge. So after doing my degree in marketing, and I really wanted to make it work. So I decided, why don't I do farming? I tried farming, and when I tried farming, I specifically went for something that is rarely done, mushroom, and I wanted to bring the farmers together. So that's how, first I started with the farmers, seeing what they're doing, how can I help them, then how can I unite them, then I decided also, why don't I do farming?
So did you do research to understand, you know, you're in your research and R&D work, research and development, you realized there was a gap before you decided to settle on mushroom farming?
Yes, there was a big gap. I did a lot of research. I was on YouTube, I went visited farmers, I really inquired, I read books. So I realized this is a crop that is rarely done, it is rarely consumed. Then I pursued it. I pursued the farming and the marketing and the packaging, and I'm still preaching the gospel of the consumption.
All right.
Yes.
And looking at our young girls who they have brilliant ideas, they want to get into business, but they are not investing when it comes to R&D, doing, you know, getting down to that where you have to use your hands down and dirty to just get your business up and running. What would you advise them from what you learned from discovering this whole area that you discovered about mushroom?
What I will tell our young girls is, don't choose the job. Don't choose the job at all. You can do anything you want. But the best is, don't go with masses. Sit down, do your research. And whatever you find that brings joy to you. Because to me, farming is joy. I have joy. It turns me on. Whatever turns you on. Be it cloth making, be it hairdressing, be it farming, forget your school, forget your papers, because as it is right now, we do not have all these jobs you're looking for.
Yes.
We don't have all these white-collar jobs you're looking for. And the government itself has really accepted that by embracing the CBC system. It's bringing back what we did those years. There is home science, there's agriculture, there's what. They've realized the only thing we can give these people is an opportunity to be business owners.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Joy, happiness, furaha is what we are getting from that particular statement. Now, also looking at the fact that you chose to went into this particular industry, mushroom farming, what are some of those realities that hit you as you were farming and you're like, okay, I didn't expect this, but I have to adjust to it, and just generally looking at farming as a business in Kenya?
One is the knowledge. When I went into it, I thought I would do it on my own, and I thought that it would be easy. Then I realized, no, I have to bring someone who's knowledgeable. I have to seek the knowledge from people who are it's their professional. We have also their challenge is the constraints of capital. You know, when you're starting something, you're like, maybe with a few shillings, the way Kenyans put it, it's easy. It's easy to do it. When you have like 30,000, you're into it. Yes, but once you start doing it, you realize it's capital intensive, it's labor intensive, and if you do it wrong, you won't get anything. You won't get anything.
So you need to understand what you're going to and be open to learning as you go on.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to reinvesting in the business, in as much as, you know, you started it, you smiled all the way to the bank, hallelujah. And, you know, you have to keep your business going because, you know, so many businesses collapse within the first 3 years of being in business, and so many of them do not break even up until the 6th month. When it comes to reinvesting in your business, and as a woman, specifically to our young girls this morning, understanding that you need to give back to your business until it can sustain itself. Your thoughts about that?
What I would advise our young women is as much as you're doing the business, remember tomorrow counts, and most of these businesses have been started on loans. So what I advise people is ensure you're keeping something aside.
Yes.
If you can't take it to the bank, have a small home bank. If you do your sales today, put your 300, put another 1,000 inside there, so that at least when it comes tomorrow, you don't borrow. With same, you become the lender. You lend to other women, lend to other youth. Yes.
You have some stash, and it's mad money.
Yes.
My young girls understand. Mad money. You have a stash for a rainy day.
Yes.
That you'd be always open to going back to when things are not working so well for the business.
Yes.
Now, as we draw the conversation to a close, given you are a woman, you have been in the metal industry, you have been in the mechanical engineering industry, now you are in the farming industry, and you're still very young. Your advice to all our young girls this day and time when it comes to seizing the opportunity when you see it?
What I will tell the women, all women, young and old, is that woman's money is sweet.
Hey.
Your own money is sweet. And they should endeavor always to make sure, even if they're getting some money from somewhere, you're married, you're what, make sure you make a coin. Because that coin will dictate a lot. You have freedom, you can choose what to do with your money.
Yes.
Yes.
Pesa yako ni tamu.
Yes.
In other words.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us this morning. We absolutely appreciate you for doing what you're doing. Keep spreading the word. Keep encouraging our young girls to go into that juakali industry, because at the end of the day, after umechafuka, what will you do? You will smile all the way to the bank as you go get your money. All right, so right now we want to just bring this particular segment to a close. We have been speaking with Rose Emily Masharia. She is the founder of Baraka Valley Farms, which is all about mushroom farming here in Kenya. She has a number of degrees. She has studied in different sectors. She has worked in the Juakali metalworks industry, and she's also a professional, a specialist when it comes to mechanical engineering. Thank you so much. We wish you the absolute best. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right. So right now we take a break. We have more of Good Morning Kenya. After this particular break, do stay with us. The hashtag is still Good Morning Kenya.
Excuse me, who is this trying to call me with his gadget? Please, before you call me Professor Ouma, you should have a telecommunicative device. My friend, we professors, we do not walk, we locomote. We do not drive problem boxes, yani probox.
To get Professor, bonyeza star 811 star 759 hash. Dial star 811 star 759 hash.
This Tuesday on KBC Channel 1.
Maliza hiyo sentensi.
Hakuna.
Julia is very privileged that you could take some time off your busy schedule.
And it still amazes me how clear yours is, even to join a tea party for women.
More cake? Anyone?
Now you understand why I can't believe that it's true?
This isn't possible.
Can't you understand, Juana? He ran off with that stupid girl.
Yes, that's right. That woman lived across the hall from me. She had come from Tijuana looking for a Ramon, and I never thought she was actually looking for your son.
El paraíso
In love with Ramon.
Yote ndawai do iko tu sawa kwa macho yako.
Unataka kuwako. Ati nini? Why are you people shouting?
Are you okay?
Mwanamke ninakuona sana. Ni wanaume hapa Mombasa wameisha.
Ni nini mbaya?
Nowadays we have so many unfaithful people.
What?
Need to talk about her every time we are together.
I'd be very careful the way you address me.
Zako zinakuangaje? Huwezi kaa dakika mbili hata bila kuteta.
You will all sign new contracts.
And I am supposed to be briefed.
What? Taki ujinga.
Oof.
my God. All right, listen. I keep telling you, and boy keep saying the kind of conversation that happened behind the scenes before we go on air. Quite exciting, but at about 4 minutes past 4 minutes past 9 a.m. Let's just try and look at how our roads are doing in terms of traffic. And again, I had mentioned earlier when we were beginning, our focus this morning is specifically in Nakuru City or Nakuru Town, if you may. And this is because of those ongoing works there. If you can remember earlier on, I tried to show you how they've been coming along. But I just want to show you again the other image before we get to traffic. And this is in regards to how that city is looking like. If you can remember, I've really been running, we've been running these images just for you, trying to show you how that reconstruction process of expanding this road to a dual carriage road has been coming along. So this is actually the heart of Nakuru town, and this is how it's looking like. So at least that is already complete. This is a project, in fact, it's a multi-billion project being spearheaded by Kura Kenha and the Triple P, which means public partnership, public-private partnership. So this is a project that is being spearheaded by those three bodies to just ensure that at least they expand this road, because it's a very instrumental road. The Nairobi-Nakuru Highway is such a very significant road, especially when it comes to matters business. So oftentimes we talk about expansion of roads or roads reconstruction majorly because of traffic. Well, that is also in place, but again, it is also because it's very important when it comes to business, and this is in regards of transporting cargo, transporting goods from Nairobi to Nakuru, to areas such as Naivasha, as well as outskirts of Nairobi, and also outside Kenya, like the country of Uganda. So this is how it's looking like. At least this is an area that's already complete. There's still an ongoing reconstruction process around Maimahiu area. If you can remember, I was showing you those images earlier as well. So at least those are the areas in which it hasn't yet been complete and it's still ongoing. And that map in which I was showing you earlier around Salga area, it's actually this area just after you leave, actually just before that area, coming to Maimahiu again. Try to see if there's anything different, because if you can remember earlier on, there was barely any kind of heavy traffic moving at a really fast pace, especially if you leaving Nairobi, next to actually from Kikuyu, leaving Nairobi, going all the way to Nakuru. It was moving pretty fast, barely any traffic. And if you can remember, that's why I was saying, if at all you are coming from Nairobi going to Nakuru, then it's a smooth sailing for you. And also if you are leaving Nakuru as well, also just a smooth sailing for you. Now look at this area. This is actually the Maimahiu area, where oftentimes there's a lot of confusion around this specific area because of that reconstruction process. This is still an area in which they're still continuing with those works, and it goes all the way to just past that area, going all the way to Mau Summit as you leave actually Naivasha, Mau Summit, again, those are the areas in which this road is just being expanded. If you can remember, I showed you the images of how the city, the heart of the city, is looking there, in terms of that expansion process there. But now let's come to Maimahiu a bit, try and see again if anything has changed. And if you can remember, also I was telling you earlier that this Maimahiu area, actually, you can see this branch going all the way to Maimahiu Narok, as well as Nairobi Nakuru, which is again also our focus. Now it looks like things have changed altogether. If you can remember earlier on, there was just traffic beginning to really slightly build up after leaving Maimahiu as you head over to Nakuru there. But as of now, things have totally changed altogether. Green all through, and this is actually on both lanes, indicating that it's just a smooth sailing for you. And that is why I was mentioning, if at all you are leaving Nairobi going to Nakuru, then it's just a smooth sailing for you. And also if you're leaving Nakuru coming to Nairobi, also no traffic at all, moving at a pretty fast pace. So also what this means is that this expansion process, or whatever it is they were trying to achieve by expanding this road, then is really serving its purpose. Because like I mentioned earlier, one of the reasons as to why they are expanding, minus the fact that it's a very good road in terms of transporting goods, is also to reduce on the traffic flow. And another thing that also came with this road is that what they were mentioning is that in terms of accidents and in terms of the death cases they were recording along this stretch, quite a number of them, and this was specifically around the Nairobi-Salga corridor there. So again, that is also an area in which they are expanding. The other thing they were also mentioning is that because of that traffic gridlock, it would really force a lot of drivers, both for public and private car owners, to just divert on major places. But as of now, looks like, you know, that process really coming along well and it's serving its purpose. So the expansion process, so that means you can just come using, you know, using the road without having to divert anywhere. Now, leaving the Maimahiu area, coming all the way to Nakuru as well, moving pretty fast on major parts of this, you know, road past Naivasha. Before you get to Nakuru, actually, past Naivasha again, moving really fast. And you just can see from our image this morning, green all through. And again, the other thing I've spotted with this in this area, unlike Nairobi City, and I was also mentioning it earlier, is that when it comes to traffic, there's barely any kind of, you know, the heavy kind of traffic build-up that we normally spot, especially when it comes to Nairobi City. And in this time of the hour, you can imagine, just a few minutes past 9 a.m., oftentimes in Nairobi, as of now, especially in the city, normally heavy kind of traffic gridlock or build-up. But in this city, as of this hour, or this, you know, a couple of minutes past 9, is just moving at a pretty fast pace, barely any kind of heavy traffic build-up, just on some specific areas, or if you may, some specific parts where there's a bit of a traffic. But even at that, it's a manageable kind of traffic. So this is actually how it's looking like, past Maimahiu, coming all the way to Naivasha, still on that stretch, the Nakuru-Nairobi road as well, moving really fast. And the interesting bit is that this is actually on both lanes, because you can remember, oftentimes when you look at Nairobi, especially in that lane that is leading to the city center, the kind of gridlock, normally unbearable. But clearly, you know, just looking from this map, green all through, no traffic at all, moving really fast. And again, you just remember that image that I showed you earlier on. So that is how it's looking like. So you can imagine that expansion process really just serving its purpose there. So as of now, again, moving really fast around this area. Also next to Gilgil as well, moving pretty fast. When you come to the heart of Nakuru City, this is actually in the city center there. Again, barely any kind of heavy traffic build-up. So yes, there's a bit of a traffic there, but it is a manageable kind of traffic. Just next to the Tusky supermarket there, this is actually in the city. Next to that supermarket, a bit of a traffic build-up there. But again, it's just next to, you know, a busy area, so we'd expect to see that. But at least on major parts along this route, moving pretty fast. Now, what we will do is that we'll continue keeping tabs with this specific town, simply because around my Maimahiu area, that reconstruction process is still ongoing. They mentioned that this whole project will take a total of 3 years, began in 2019. So we are expecting at the end of 2021 or early 2022 for that to be complete. So what that means is that we definitely have to keep tabs on this to just see how it's coming along, try to see if at all it's impacting traffic positively in terms of traffic reduction, as well as easy movement of vehicles, both public and private, and also cargo, you know, vehicles. So that's how it's looking like this morning when it comes to Matches traffic. Our focus this morning has been in Nakuru town.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of Good Morning Kenya this far. Being a Tuesday, trust me, this is the only way to start your morning. My name is Samuel Njoroge. We're glad that you're joining us now. Would like to begin a conversation on entrepreneurship. But this time around, think less business and more social support when it comes to entrepreneurship and young minds that are driving the growth agenda, not only right here in the country, the region and beyond. I am hosting a HALT Prize Director for the Moi campus. Meet her. That's Caroline Mwende Yutonga. Take a look at her smile. Honestly, it's as bright as the future, right? And we need to begin having this conversation, and you can talk to us using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya at KBC Channel 1. Let us know what your thoughts are regarding this conversation that we're beginning. Should you have a question, direct it through the same platform, and we shall integrate it to the content that we'll be having this morning. Caroline, karibu sana to the program, and maybe you can begin by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks so much, Sam. I'm Caroline Mwende Gitonga. I'm a Moi University law student. I'm also a young at Charter Young Leader. I'm also a Team Harmony Global Youth Reporter. I'm also the on-campus director for Moi University for Halt Prize Movement. Yes, yeah, that's basically.
What's the movement all about?
Yeah, Halt Prize is not just a competition. It's a movement where it has various programs. It begins with the on-campus program, where we bring together teams in our universities to come up with ideas on solving the pressing social issues. This year's theme is transforming food into a vehicle for change. So we are going to have ideas that come all along, from food production to processing to manufacture to packaging. We want to see young people come up with innovative ideas on how to solve problems in these areas. Also, we want to see them create food security at the same time when increasing income, improving livelihoods, and creating employment.
All right, and why this project for you? Why decide to go this route?
Why Halt Prize? Halt Prize doesn't only encourage teams to compete for the ultimate prize. Halt Prize encourages the youth to, during the process, there's a lot of mentoring, there's a lot of workshop on idea formulation, on case cracking, on whereby they make their ideas fit with the theme that's for that year. They also have forums where they interact with successful social entrepreneurs and also other people who are doing it big in business. In addition, there's an incubation period for those who make it past the regionals. The winning teams at the regionals go for a business incubation period at the accelerator at the London in the UK. They go for months to have business training. They pitch their ideas and they are coached on how to make their ideas into viable businesses.
And over the existence of this particular program, I'd like you to talk to us about how it has impacted you as a law student, you as a young social entrepreneur.
Wow, that's a good question. As a law student, of course, I'm the on-campus director. I've had the chance to interact with many people as a network, looking for the mentors, for the business coaches. I've had the chance to interact with many people. And of course, again, the insights and the skills that even my teammates get. I've also gotten to learn leadership skills, what works and what doesn't, on the job.
All right, what works and currently what works? Okay, you've told us that. What does not work?
What works is teamwork, and teamwork really works. I can't do everything as a leader. I need to work with a team that clearly works on the same path as I am, that shares the same vision as I share, that carries the same vision that I carry. I need to work with a team that is focused on moving towards making the Halt Prize movement a great program in our university, where we come up with the best startup idea. We empower youth, we empower people to come up with the best ideas. We help them come up with the business models for their ideas and also the prototypes.
What is the place for social entrepreneurship in society right now, especially for young people?
Wow, social entrepreneurship is growing very much in Kenya. We've seen very many successful social enterprises in our country that have solved pressing issues in our society. We have enterprises like the Kenya, like the Kiondo culture, Kiondo culture. We know the traditional African bag that is mostly made by the old ladies. Actually, Ivy Nita, she's a young lady. She came up with the idea of paying or rather employing 60-year-old women in her village to come up with the kiondo, to weave the kiondos, and she pays them some money, therefore giving them a steady income. Therefore, she has created employment to hundreds of women in her village. We have Akira Chicks, created by Judith. It empowers women in the tech industry. It nurtures them to come up with technological solutions to problems in Africa. It actually empowers women in tech business in Africa. We have Synergy. It was developed by MIT students to come up with healthy sanitation models, toilet models. They were actually tasked to come up with a solution that would help billions of people in Africa. They come up with that idea. And in Kenya, it's quite appropriate since up to 8 million people in the slum dwellings have no access to hygienic sanitation.
It's true.
So what they do is that they sell at a cost the toilets, the Eco toilets to franchisors. They have plot models and school models, and they give them on offer. So basically, they have dealt with the issue of sanitation and other accruing environmental issues.
You've mentioned various entrepreneurs that are trying to do stuff out here, and the struggle is also so real, right, Carol? So maybe you can share with us what level of support that you're looking for, not only for yourself, but also other entrepreneurs that you know of that could help articulate their trade and their vision even better.
Yeah, we want strategic networks. We want them to have business support even after establishing their enterprises, their social enterprises. We want them to get funding to improve their businesses. And for those who are starting up their business, we need them to have seed capital. We want them to have a support network whereby in case of any issues, any additional research, they can get all those insights. We want the government to continue funding them and to have certain infrastructure, certain strategic systems that they can actually refer to in case of any issues.
And I can see the theme for this year, in as far as the health prize is concerned, is food for good. And it comes at a time when the nation is having a conversation around food security. Now, how can these two opportunities merge into one and create some good working environment for your cause and fellow entrepreneurs out here?
That's a good question. Actually, when you have a fed nation, solving other issues is actually easier. Food is the basis of human existence. We actually can't live without food. We need food to thrive. We need food to nurture our bodies. So once we've created food security, once we have ideas that can feed over 10 million people by 2030, once we have ideas that can better the current production systems, once we have ideas that can improve our food distribution systems, once we have ideas that can better the supply chains systems, once we have ideas that can better how we package our foods and how it reaches various people, in the process we'll have created jobs, we'll have created wealth, we'll have created social impact by reduction of crimes, whereby actually people earn a living. So really this theme really covers many other areas of society and will create huge impact in our society.
Let's talk about the $1 million now, shall we? Mbona tujongelelea story?
Let's talk about it.
We talk about the $1 million, right?
Yeah.
Take it away, Carol.
The $1 million is the cash prize offered by the HALT prize, to fund by the winning team at the finals to fund their business startup. So what happens is that at the finals at the UN in New York, the HALT prize and Bill Clinton and every other major stakeholder at the HALT prize movement is there, and they are given that cash prize to fund their enterprises. They actually own a 20% stake in your startup. But that's a very good deal because actually no Kenyan entrepreneur is willing to give you to take such a huge risk to invest in your venture. They actually don't know that your venture exists in the first place.
There you go.
So it's such a good deal for youth, and everyone should take the opportunity to participate in HALT prize movement. It's available and registration is ongoing on all campuses in our university. If you haven't heard of it in your university, you can also register as an on-campus director and bring it to your university.
Nice. Now, let's talk about enrollment and signing up to this particular movement. How does it exactly work out?
Good question. You can directly participate through the haltprize.org website. So you can click on participate, or organize if you want to be an on-campus director. Also, if you're a student at any university in our country, you can go to our social media handles. We all have social media handles. For Moi University is on Instagram at Halt Praise Moi University. On our Twitter is at Moi Halt. On Facebook is Halt Praise Moi University. So there we have contact details. We've also posted lots and lots of materials to tell you what Halt Praise is all about, what we are doing, and the necessary strategies that we've put in place to make sure that your idea becomes the winning idea.
And is it only restricted to campus students? Does it extend to the other tertiary institutions like colleges and stuff like that?
Good question. Yes. Yes, Halt Praise is in colleges and universities all around the globe, as long as you're an undergrad student, a master's student, or a PhD student.
But you must have a business idea.
Yeah, it can actually be an ongoing business concern. It can be a going business concern.
All right.
Yeah.
So long as you're out there and you have an ongoing business or you have a business idea, you are eligible to qualify for this particular prize. However, is it age restricted? What's
No.
the bracket?
There is no age restriction as long as you're an undergrad student, a master's student, or a PhD student.
So I can be 40 years old, being an undergrad student, and still sign up for HALT?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice. So now let's move on to that point where startups are, brought on board, and the process begins now to select the best. How is that process like?
Okay. We begin with the on-campus program, whereby we sign up team and challenge them to come up with ideas on the theme, which this year is transforming food into a vehicle for change. So once they sign up, we have them register their teams of 3 or 4 on our website. We already have websites for all universities. For Moi University, you can find it on our social media handles, as we've earlier stated. From the campus, on the campus rounds, we have one winning team. The one winning team faces other teams at the regionals of their choice. One team from each campus is assured a slot at the regionals. However, the second or third team can participate at the regionals upon application, and it's subject to availability of a slot. At the regionals, we have around more than 20 regional cities where we organize the regional rounds. Okay. The winning teams at each regionals go at the accelerator in London, UK.
Okay.
Yeah, at the London, UK, this is where it all happens.
This is where the magic starts.
This is where the magic starts.
Before we get to the magic, let's talk about the regions. Are they clustered in terms of counties, or continent-wise? How does that happen?
Good questions. It's first at continent level. There are regionals in each continent. However, you're not restricted to participate in your continent. Sorry. Yeah. So, for instance, we have a regionals in Nairobi. However, Kenyan teams aren't restricted to participate in Nairobi. We can apply for up to 3 places. So, when you get a slot in any of those places, you automatically go, because as I've said, the winning team in each university has a direct ticket through the regionals. Yeah.
Let's get to the magic now. We're in London. What happens?
Wow, this is where big business incubation takes place. You get experts from all over the world, at your beck and call, training you, weekly trainings and weekly pitching. You master your pitch, you own your pitch. You have business moguls, mentoring you. You enjoy all the services that you can access at the castle, as the Astrid Castle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so basically...
we get some royal treatment too.
Yeah, so...
Okay.
Basically, you get exposed to the royal treatment. Yeah.
Nice. Probably meet the queen, no?
That I'm not sure about.
That's what you're not sure about.
So if you're among the top 6 teams around the globe, you go to the finals.
Now, let's talk about, we're still in London.
Yeah.
By the way, to gender New York, we're still in London. How long does this incubation period last?
It takes 2 months. It takes 2 months.
Okay.
So during the 2 months, you get to polish on your pitch, you get to make the necessary adjustments, You get to see how your model works, whether it works, how it can work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And of course, get the mentorship from moguls and relevant people in as far as, you know, getting your pitch and your substance out there, right?
Yeah.
So we're on a flight now. We've landed in New York. What happens there?
Wow. In New York, that's where the finals happens. At the finals, that's where you look forward to who's going to carry home the $1 million. So at the UN headquarters, that's where all the stakeholders come together to see who's the year's winner of the HALT Prize trophy, which is very unique, by the way. So this is where the 6 teams pitch their ideas, and the judges get to pick which is the best team, and they are funded. They get the $1 million to fund their startup.
Okay.
Yeah.
And while at the United Nations, what criteria exactly is used to assess the viability of any project? Do they cluster it in terms of maybe food security, health, agriculture? What are their factors, or what are the factors that they consider?
Good question. They look at whether your idea is in line with the theme. So this year's theme is food for good. So is your idea
food security?
Yeah,
and agriculture.
Is it relevant to the theme? Secondly, do you own your pitch? How relevant is your idea to the society that you've set in? Number 3, how's your presentation? How do you present your pitch? Number 4, how's your team dynamics? You know, am you the kind of people who, after getting the money, you'll go your separate ways and the business collapses? They look at all these factors.
Yeah, and earlier on you mentioned that one of the terms attached to the $1 million is that they get to own 20% of the stake in your startup. Let's talk about that. Who exactly is owning this 20%? Is it the United Nations? Is it respective companies? Talk to us about that.
It's the HALT Prize movement, so that we get to monitor how you're doing your business, how you're carrying on your operation. They don't leave you after the competition. They walk with you along that journey.
So at one point, do they, give you back the 20% stake, or do they stay with you until, kingdom come?
They stay with you. Perhaps those are the other details that perhaps you can discuss later. But meanwhile, so we're looking at a place where it's a business idea. You didn't have an ongoing concern yet. So they work with you for some time.
Could you share with us an experience of a case study that you are aware of, that this person, young, came in, walked through this journey, and right now, this is where they are?
Yes, we have a Kenyan venture that was actually an idea of African Nazarene students. They were actually first-year students when they got to HALT Prize. They started this footwear from Sisal, from Pineapple West. From Pineapple West. They actually make very good footwear that's very presentable. So they got to the regionals, but unfortunately they didn't make it to the finals. But however, their idea, they already have a venture. It's Pine Kazi. It's Pine Kazi. That's their brand. They sell their footwear, and they're really doing good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. You know what? Let's first take in all that. It's so amazing. I told you, social entrepreneurship has a thing or two to just click and sweep you away and make you appreciate life and opportunities from a whole different point of view. The beauty about it is that this time around, it's being done by a young person, a law student at the Moore University. 3rd year, I believe, 2nd semester, Carol?
Yes.
Yes, and her life is well ahead of her. We're taking a breather. When we return, I will also be engaging Doreen, in terms of the traffic updates and what she's been able to pick up in as far as this conversation is concerned. Your feedback too is going to feature during that interaction. Keep it. Good morning, Kenya.
Okay, now we take a quick look on the socials. I begin with Facebook. There's a lot of feedback, by the way, especially here on Facebook. Mary Nyoike saying, good morning, loving the show. Sammy, but not you, Sammy Njoroge.
I was all excited about that. Tension is here.
Sammy says, wow, go girl Rosie. This is a feedback in regards to the interview that Wamboi was having earlier on matters women at the forefront. Isaac saying, watching from Nyeri, congratulations Rose again. Also feedback in regards to that. The Sarah Nganga saying, good morning, the show is very informative. And some, I also saw a bit of feedback again as well on Twitter, and this is just in regards to, you know, Kenyans asking questions when it comes to matters entrepreneurship. And if you may allow me, let me just read this one from Twitter, which is as Jobad asking, now between, you know, he's actually used some words to describe counties, but just saying between Nairobi, Nakuru, Githumo, which is the best town to start a business? So his question is just asking, is there a best place to begin a business? And this is in regards to, if at all you are an upcoming business person, an entrepreneur, is there a specific place to start a business, or you can start it anywhere? To our guest.
Yeah, sure. She will be addressing that in just a short while, but also talking about Twitter and what is happening there. I can see Pastor Paul Wafri area. Asante sana. You're saying good morning to you too. We've got Esther Ndegwa there saying Muthure iko present. Asante sana. Let's get to Nginyo Slay. Asante, thank you for watching the show. We get you loud and clear. Eunice Givawori Mamayao says good morning from Londiani. Zablon Esikuri also watching from Spring Valley. And a question also coming through, I believe Mafumbo Alan is saying, well, I have learned a lot of good entrepreneurship skills from the young entrepreneur. That is Caroline. So thank you so much for that and for watching. And another one here, it takes an entrepreneurial mindset to tackle big ideas and problems that need to be solved. Now, more Kenyan youth need to embrace entrepreneurship. That's your feedback. We appreciate it. Keep the interaction going on online at KBC Channel 1 at Sam W. Njoroge. But I would like to hand it over to Caroline to just answer that question when it comes to what is it to consider when you're coming up with a business idea, when you're trying to articulate the same. Over to you, Carol.
Okay, it's such a good question. When you have a social entrepreneur mind, all you focus in is what problem can I solve in my society? Is it the wastes that I can use as raw materials to produce some good? Is it a service that I can provide to tackle a certain issue in my society? Is it a product that I can bring in to cover a certain niche in the society? So these are the factors that you need to consider on what are the pressing issues in the society. Is it that product that I can introduce? Is it a service that I can offer? Is it something I need to distribute, to bring closer to the people? These are the factors you need to consider.
And as far as the whole price is concerned, just coming to you, Doreen, in just a short while, you know, as far as the price is concerned, does it happen yearly or biannually? How is the frequency?
It's an annual annual program. It's an annual program.
So currently it's ongoing.
It's ongoing.
Stage imefika wapi? Tuko London ama we are still registering?
We're still at the campus rounds. We're mobilizing teams to compete, and universities have till 15th of December to organize the event. So for Moi University, we'll have our competitions on the 6th of November.
So when is the awarding of the prize expected?
Or sometime next year. That's when we'll have the finals.
They will communicate a date, right?
Yes.
Okay, over to you, Doreen.
Now, there's one last question again. Anne Jasani asking, actually saying, taking enough risks is 100% advisable. And oftentimes, especially when it comes to matters entrepreneurship, there's that, you know, fear. Like, should I go all in? Should I put one foot in? So maybe just like an advice is really taking it. Is taking enough risk 100% available and 100% advisable, and to what extent?
Carol.
Yes, as an entrepreneur, you need to take risks, you know. We want to see young people who take the risks to tackle social problems. We want to see them take the risk. They don't know whether at first you don't know whether your venture will be profitable or not, you know. But you take the initiative to come up with an idea, to offer a service, to offer a product, to to create distribution channels, you know, to do something that will solve a certain, the goal is to solve or tackle a societal problem.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what, maybe you can take a minute to just give us your final word, Caroline, in terms of the discussion we've had today. What is that one thing you would love a Kenyan youth to understand when it comes to social entrepreneurship?
Thank you so much, Sam. All I'd want to encourage all the youth in Kenya, if you're affiliated to a certain institution, it can be a college, it can be a university, sign up, follow up with your university campus directors. If you don't have a campus director, go to haltprice.org and sign up to be a campus director, or click compete directly from there. Also join us in our social media platforms at Halt Praise Moi University on Instagram, Halt Praise Moi University on Facebook, and at Moi Halt on Twitter, and sign up to be part of us.
Nice, Caroline, and thank you so much for coming in for the show.
Thank you very much.
It's amazing, you know, sharing your insights, your experiences, in as far as the Halt Prize is concerned, and how you can use opportunities provided by the same platform as a social entrepreneur to ensure that you create positive change in society. Caroline Mwendege-Tonga, all the best in both your future and present endeavors. Sasa.
Thanks for having us.
All right, and now over to Doreen. I don't know, it's been quite a show, and I don't know what has been your highlight of Good Morning Kenya this Tuesday.
No, you know, if I say it, I don't know if it will sound so good, because I think you and I know what that highlight is. So we'll keep it for the, what is it called? For the off-air conversation. But actually, it's been an exciting conversation. And you know, Sam, just before we wrap the show, there was something that I saw, which again, I think is very important for us to address. I understand that you've already wrapped up with the guests, but I think it will be really important, because it's just a question again from Twitter, and this is in regards to entrepreneurship. And the whole idea is the aspect of believing in ourselves. That's just what the question is all about. That when we believe in ourselves, we can be more creative and more innovative. And for me, I just again want to understand from our guest, because she is into that a lot. What does it take for someone to believe in themselves? And also for you, Sam, you can tell us, you know, for you as a person, what does it take for you to believe in yourself 100%? That nikisema ndafanya hii, I can actually go ahead and I can do it.
I mean, maybe from my point of view, I mean, it all begins with self.
With yourself.
It begins with self. If you don't believe in you, who else will? If you don't articulate your idea the way you should, who else will? And at times you find that that is the disconnect between a dream and reality, because you, if you do not take time to have people believe, if you do not take time to convince people, if you do not take time to ensure that you place yourself out there strategically to achieve what you want, then it becomes a problem. And that is why even some people, yes, they could start the process, but midway they experience a jump cut. What do? Do you just abandon it? Do you retreat? Or do you decide to rise to the occasion and understand that it's simply a rise and fall?
But you know, Sam, when you talk about that, I think it's huge, because yes, you're saying that, you know, you have to go out there. If you don't believe in yourself, who will? But what about the naysayers? Because like I mentioned earlier, this question is all about that, you know, when you believe in yourself, you can be more creative and more innovative. But what about the naysayers? Those that just keep pinning you down. Like, you go out there, you try your thing, you try your craft, you try and be creative, you give ideas, but for some reason they just, you know.
They'll always be there though, and they're there to serve a purpose. It's up to you to understand that your vision and dream is bigger than everything else. I mean, I think of it as a race.
Okay.
You know, when you're running,
like, you're thinking of the whole thing about this life thing, and even entrepreneurship is all a race.
Yeah, it's a race, because we are all yearning to get to the finish point. And in life, competition is allowed. If you get there before me, sawa, hamna shida, so long as we will arrive at the end of the day. But think of it as a race.
Okay.
When you're running, an athlete does not have the time to sit and figure out, or to stand rather, and pose and figure out who's cheering for me, who is booing against me. The goal is clear. Finish the race. All right? And that will determine the outcome. Once you're done, I mean, whether you were cheering, whether you were jeering, hiyo sasa ni yako jieke. Yeah, shamaliza, amewin, amefulfill purpose yake. So just understand that just like in a SWOT analysis, you're made to understand that every weakness and every threat, you can turn it into an opportunity.
Okay.
Cheza kama wewe.
Cheza kama wewe.
Cheza like you.
So the whole point is to stay focused on the goal.
Yeah, stay focused on the goal.
So I believe, okay, Sam.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Doreen.
Okay, Sam, so I believe this little chat we've had here at least has answered Yasin question, right? Which was, especially when it comes to matters of entrepreneurship, that when you become believing in ourselves is the whole idea. And I feel, Sam, this cuts across. So Yasin, as much as it's hashtag entrepreneurship, hashtag Tuesday, and the question is right there, but I believe the bottom line is that it is all about, like, it needs to start with you. So you believe in you. When you want to start a business, just believe in you. When you want to get that job, just believe in you. So it's all about beginning with you, right?
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Talking about sticking to the goal and cutting across. Time has come for us to stick to the goal of cutting across the show today and winding up.
I've seen what you've done there.
You see what I did there?
I see.
We're here. Like we're here. Thank you so much for watching Good Morning Kenya and for your participation both online and on air. We shall be doing this again tomorrow on Wednesday. The viewpoint will be interesting. We shall be looking at the realities of Article 261 of the Constitution, 101 of the Constitution, and various areas when it comes to the law that have informed the move by Chief Justice Moraga to petition the president to dissolve parliament, and the political liabilities that will be coming up with that, and whether or not we will be seeing this create more and more political intrigues in the country. Enjoy your day. Be blessed. Stay safe. No matter what you're going through, kindly eat fast and do not forget to breathe. Sawa. God bless you all abundantly. Good morning.
Should we put like that? Should we have that like a tag for you? You know, no matter what happens,
eat fast.
Just eat.
Yeah,
just have something.
Yeah, and don't forget to breathe. Sawa.
All right, till tomorrow, have a good morning. My name is Doreen Arange.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Those three of them must be ridiculing me. They have ashamed the future emperor by escaping from the prison.
You know Dastan so well. Then why do you want to kill him?
I have done many things to get to this position. I have killed people. I have risked my own life. So what do you think? You can make me blurt out the truth so easily. Just go and call Dastan.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
The boy deserves the truth.
Kwani wewe hujui chochote kuhusu sugarcoat ukweli?
Nimechoka na uongo.
Something's not right about that relationship, if I can call it that.
Saizi mimi niko interested kuhusu relationship yetu, if I can call it that.
I should pay Connor a visit.